Chapter 1. Terminal Meridians Trash. The moment Lu Muyen stepped into the Imperial Academy's gates, she received numerous types of gazes, of disdain, loathing, jealousy, ridicule, dislike, and of interest, that of which appeared like they were watching a play. She sighed inwardly. What sort of failure was the original owner of this body that she looked like a pest in everyone's eyes? So many gazes, and yet not one of them were looks of friendliness. She was really speechless. Calmly ignoring all the unfriendly gazes, Lu Muyen continued towards the direction of the library. According to the memories of the original owner, the library of the Imperial Academy collected the most comprehensive list of books in the entire empire, including books that recorded various medicinal herbs and spiritual herbs on this continent. She now wanted to find out if this continent had the spiritual herbs to refine the marrow-cleansing pill. She, Lu Muyen, a cultivator with the heavenly spiritual root at the body fusion stage, encountered the battle between two true spirit cultivators when she was breaking through to the Great Ascension stage and, unluckily enough, was dragged into the spatial storm caused by their battle. Her physical body was destroyed, while her soul transmigrated into the body of a natural-born trash with the terminal meridian's constitution on Tianling continent. Whether in her former lives' cultivation world or the current world, both followed the law of survival of the strongest. Lu Muyen was currently far too weak. Any random cultivator could easily squish her beneath their foot. She desperately desired to increase her power, but if she wanted to recultivate, she was required to unblock all of the meridians in this body, otherwise she couldn't even feel the spiritual force of heaven and earth in this world, not to mention absorb it to cultivate. And the only way to solve this problem was to refine the marrow-cleansing pill and improve and eliminate this trash body. People with terminal meridians simply meant that their entire bodus meridians were blocked, unable to unclog, and no matter how hard they tried, they wouldn't be able to absorb the spiritual force in the atmosphere. At most, they could only cultivate until advanced phase sword apprentice in this world. On the way to the library, Lu Muyen could hear people judging. When one young girl saw Lu Muyen had passed by, she immediately went to her friend beside her, whispering, "Isn't that Lu Muyen? Wid she returned to the academy? Other than to chase after Qi Yixian, why else would she return to the Imperial Academy?" Another person replied in disdain. "She still has the face to return, how shameless." There was derision in this girl's voice. That's right, Qi Yixian never gave her any good looks. Mentioning the name Qi Xian, there existed a sliver of yearning in her voice. Another person continued, "She shamelessly chases after Qi Yixian every day. The Lu clan lost all their face because of her." Exactly, why couldn't she have just been beaten into a handicap by Gu Yanran last time? Then she added, "I almost forgot she was already trash." "Shu, lower your voice. If she heard you, she'd bring her guards to bash people again. Whatever you say, she still has her superior status protecting her, so what if she's trash? Not like we can afford to offend her." There was a hint of bitterness in her voice. Lu Muyen rolled her eyes but didn't bother debating with them. Her most important thing right now was to improve her constitution. Without power as the premise, her days were truly miserable. Using the barbaric ways of the original owner of this body, as if she had a brain spasm to bully others was something she really couldn't do. But in reality, the original owner of this body wasn't really that unbearable. Since she inherited all the memories and emotions of the original owner, in Lu Muyen's eyes, the original owner simply loved a person she shouldn't have and used simplistic and idiotic ways to deal with interpersonal relationships. Her reputation was only ruined by scheming people. She wasn't a bad person. She actually pitied the original owner. She was born in the Lu clan that was brimming with prodigies, yet she was a person born with the terminal meridian's constitution. She didn't belong. Despite her strong background, it could never fill the loneliness and inferiority in her heart. So she used unreasonable and willful methods to hide her hopelessness and struggles. She licked her wounds alone, wounds from unobtainable love, eventually resulting in her willingly dispersing her own soul and relinquished the body to the current Lu Muyen. The library was situated deep within the forest of red maple trees. Within the forest, arrays were installed, and only those who bore the customized student badge of the academy wouldn't get lost. A sea of fiery red maple leaves swayed with the wind. Beneath the sunlight, they were set ablaze, and even more gorgeous, forming a unique scenery within the academy. At the very end of the red maple forest stood a profound, ancient building. Lu Muyan's powers were inhibited after her soul transmigrated, and she had no cultivation base, but her soul was very strong, so she could use mental energy equivalent to the foundation establishment stage of her previous life. As such, she could perceive that there was a layer of energy protecting the library building. She also discovered that there were currently a few very powerful auras concealed within the building, probably belonging to the guardians of the library. The entrance to the library was open all year round. When she entered, she took out her student badge and gave it to the manager. After registering, she entered the inner room, followed the signs, and found a book titled Tianling Continent's Flora Record. Lu Muyan took the book from the shelf and scanned a few pages. In it, there weren't just illustrations, but also detailed explanations. A satisfied smile rose on her face. It was precisely what she needed. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Then she arrived at a seat beside the window and began to peruse the book. The ingredients required for the marrow cleansing pill, red leaf lotus, snake saliva fruit, flame fruit, and spirit gathering grass were all recorded, only their names were slightly different to what she knew in her previous world. But Lu Muyan frowned slightly. Based on her memories, 3 of the 4 spiritual herbs were easy to find. They would be present in higher-end apothecaries, but the flame fruit was rarely found on the market. If one desired it, they must enter the blazing mountain range that was situated on the border of Yanzhou country. Regardless, she swiftly browsed through the book, imprinting every detail in her mind for future use. Holding a badge rewarded to him, Qi Yixin entered the library to seek for a suitable support-type technique for himself. Just as he turned to go upstairs, in his peripheral vision, he caught sight of a young girl sitting by the windows, quietly browsing through a book. The young girl dressed in a simple, elegant purple dress, and her smooth black hair was tied with a black ribbon behind her head. There wasn't a hint of makeup on her beautiful face, only emphasizing her exquisite facial features, while her pretty brows were slightly furrowed. Sunlight spilled on her from behind, and her whole body exuded a faint warmth beneath the soft light, while her temperament seemed as if one who had been baptized, transformed, into another who was peaceful, elegant, tranquil, and pleasant. Startled, Qi Shen wondered, was this person really Lu Muyan? He couldn't match this girl with the one in his memories who liked to dress in gaudy clothes and adorned mature makeup. He contemplated a little longer, then turned and headed to the second floor. After finishing Tianling Continent's Flora Record, Lu Muyan found a few more books to read on the shelves that introduced Tianling Continent and inadvertently found the Tianling Continent's Demonic Beast Record. Interested, she read the entire book and even memorized all the information. After stretching, she placed all the books back in their original places and left the library. Recalling the location of her residence in the academy, she quickly walked out of Red Maple Forest. Just as she turned left, a jarring, provocative voice entered her ear. "Oh, isn't this young Miss Lu? Why do you run so fast when you see our Yen Ran? Were you afraid of being beaten again?" Lu Muyan looked back and found 2 boys and 2 girls walking out from another part of the Red Maple Forest. The girl that spoke was considered pretty, wearing a glaring red silk dress that wrapped around her hot figure, with an obviously fake display of charm. At first glance, it was a woman with big breasts and no brain. Beside her stood a beautiful young girl with fair, tender skin, a shy smile on her face, and who wore a light yellow dress that gave her a gentle and refined temperament. Lu Muyan recognized them from memory. The red-clothed girl, Zheng Rou, was the official daughter of a wealthy merchant of the empire, while the other was that white flower too, Gu Yanran. Together with the girls, there were 2 men whose appearances were rather exceptional. One wore a stern face with a tall, straight posture, and was clothed in black, which generated a masculine temperament. His whole person exuded a cold and arrogant manly charm. He was precisely Qi Yixin, the original owner of this Bodhi's most beloved. The other wore a luxurious purple robe with a handsome appearance. His pair of peach-shaped, amorous eyes carried a flirtatious charm, but was hardly feminine, as he appeared like an unrestrained and unruly man who followed his passions. The fifth Prince Yunjin of Yenzhou country. Ro, no need to say any more, I had my faults that day as well. Gu Yanran said softly as she gently pulled Zheng Rao's sleeve. Zheng Rou casted a look of soft anger at her. You're just too kind, that's why others will bully you. Lu Mu Yen watched their performance coldly, she really wasn't interested in these sorts of dramas. Her gaze swept over the four people indifferently, turned around, and was about to leave. This move surprised the four of them, especially Gu Yanran. Based on experience, this trash should have immediately charged forward, pointing at Zheng Rou, and erupted into curses. But why did she act so uncharacteristically today? Not to mention her style and makeup, as well as her temperament, seemed to belong to a completely different person. A bad premonition suddenly rose in her heart. Lu Mu Yen, you stop for me right now. Seeing Lu Mu Yen blatantly ignore her, anger rose in Zheng Rou, and she yelled out. Qi Yixian didn't stop them, his eyebrows furrowed. When he went to the library earlier, he also discovered Lu Mu Yan's temperament was as if it belonged to a completely different person, but when he exited, she was already gone. After exiting the library, he coincidentally met Yunjin's group, so they left Red Maple Forest together, not expecting to meet Lu Mu Yen here. Yet today, despite meeting him, Lu Mu Yen actually didn't take the initiative to grate and stick to him. He sure wanted to see what sort of tricks she wanted to play. Meanwhile, Zheng Rao's call attracted the attention of the surrounding students, stopping each of them in their steps with the desire to watch a nice play. 1A screw loose basically. 2 probably a reference to White Lotus aka a fake female. Note, my first translated chapter. There may or may not be adjustments, particularly to the nouns used in this novel whenever I see fit to help the story make more sense, but hopefully everyone enjoys this novel as much as I did. It might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I sure hope some people enjoy it. Chapter 2. Face slap killing intent flashed in Lu Mu Yan's eyes, and she turned around, looking at Zheng Rou coldly. Zheng Rou was stunned by her gaze, then felt she couldn't possibly be afraid of the gaze of a trash, so she shook her head lightly, puffed out her large breasts, and said arrogantly, Lu Mu Yen, this miss here told you to stay, and yet you dare to leave. The cold light in Lu Mu Yan's eyes grew colder. This woman exploited her relationship as Qi Yixian's distant younger cousin and often bullied and oppressed the original owner of the body. Meanwhile, the original owner always conceded to give face to the Qi clan. But in turn, it allowed this big-chested, no-brained woman to grow exceedingly arrogant, acting self-important. Who do you think you are? If I want to stay, I stay. If I want to leave, I leave. Must I ask permission from the daughter of a lowly merchant? Disdain and ridicule oozed from her gaze. It wasn't that she belittled merchants, but that their overall status in Yenzhou country wasn't that high. In recent years, it was only because Gu Yanran's elder sister entered the palace as an imperial noble consort that the merchant's status improved. Of course, it was probably also one of the emperor's acquiesce tactics. This was the first time Zheng Rou heard Lu Mu Yen mock her without consideration of anyone's feelings. She suddenly didn't know how to handle the situation, and her face that was already thick with blush grew even redder as she held her breath in anger. Hearing the suppressed laughter around them, Zheng Rao's anger erupted. She drew her long sword, pointed it at Lu Mu Yen, and lunged towards her. Today, she must teach her a lesson. Seeing Zheng Rou wield her sword to stab her, Lu Mu Yan's eyes revealed some disdain. Even though Zheng Rou was a middle-phase sword apprentice and was one phase above the original owner of this body, but Lu Mu Yen had her own flesh-refining manual she learned from her previous life. It was simple for her to avoid the attack if she wanted to. Within the 1 month she was recuperating from her injuries, she trained this weak body every single day. Just as Zheng Rao's sword was about to pierce Lu Mu Yan's chest, Qi Yixian frowned slightly, but didn't stop it. He knew Zheng Rou didn't have the courage to kill Lu Mu Yen. Meanwhile, Gu Yanran appeared to worry, but she was delighted in her heart. Lu Mu Yen asked for this herself. So what if she had a noble status? If it weren't for her elder sister warning her not to provoke Lu Mu Yen anymore, She would have wanted to make another move and completely handicap this spoilt, reckless trash. Yet when everyone thought Lu Muyen was about to be stabbed, she suddenly flipped herself backwards, instantly avoiding Zheng Rao's attack. Her gaze chilled. She spun around and kicked Zheng Rao in the stomach, and as the latter hugged her abdomen, Lu Muyen grabbed her wrist, tugged her closer, then lowered Zheng Rao's body and kneed her in the chest. Zheng Rao had no battle experience, so she could only shriek in pain in this situation. Lu Muyan's shocking behavior stunned the audience. This trash had this sort of talent? It must be luck. Stop. Gu Yanran said tenderly, but inwardly, she wished Lu Muyen would give Zheng Rao a few more beatings so that Qi Xian could despise her even more. Lu Muyen ignored Gu Yanran's shout, lifted her foot, and directly kicked Zheng Rao to the ground. Zheng Rao held the place she was kicked, heard the ridicule of everyone, and, disregarding the pain of her body, screamed like a madman, swinging her sword towards Lu Muyen again. But this time, she learned to be clever, guarding against the tricks Lu Muyen used just before. Lu Muyen sneered. What a stupid woman. No wonder Gu Yanran took advantage of her all day long. She simply used her silk missteps to dodge the attack and dash to Zheng Rao's side. An arrest knocked the sword from Zheng Rao's hands, then with one hand clasping her wrist, the other reached directly for Zheng Rao's face. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Everyone merely saw Lu Muyen incessantly slap Zheng Rao's face left and right, yet they also felt the pain on their cheeks. Seeing the situation getting out of control, Qi Xian frowned and said coldly, Lu Muyen, that's enough. Lu Muyen was just feeling gratified. She was already aggrieved when her cultivation completely fell from an almighty cultivator into trash after she transmigrated, but, aside from the evident concern from her family in the 1 month, everything else also made her extremely vexed. So she welcomed Zheng Rao, who took the initiative to come up to her and allow her to vent the little bit of her irritation and dissatisfaction. But that stinky Qi Xian actually told her it was enough and to stop? Why should she? Though she inherited the emotions of the original owner of this body, she could still forcibly let go of the intense love that didn't belong to her. She blatantly rolled her eyes at Qi Xian and continued to slap Zheng Rao. Yi Xian, Lu Muyen doesn't even give you face anymore. Interesting. Yun Jin's amorous eyes revealed a hint of interest. Today, at first glance, he already felt that Lu Muyen had changed, but he didn't expect her to become this interesting. Qi Yixian's face darkened, then said impatiently, Lu Muyen, stop playing these types of tricks to get my attention, hurry up and let Zheng Rao go. When Lu Muyen heard Qi Xian say this, the anger in her chest burned even fiercer, and she stopped temporarily. When everyone thought she would release Zheng Rao, act cute and apologize to Qi Xian, she suddenly looked Qi Xian up and down, then said with disdain, and who do you think you are? This miss isn't bothered playing with you anymore. Look at you, want chests and yet you have none, want a butt and yet you also have none. You don't even look as good as the purple-clothed handsome beauty standing beside you. I really don't know which eye of mine was blind to fancy you. Her words shocked the entire audience. What did she mean, want chests and yet you have none? Want a butt and yet you also have none? What did a man need those for? Were men described in such a way? This is a blatant insult. Phtha! Yinjin couldn't help but roar with laughter. It was rare to see Qi Xian be the laughingstock, so he was exceptionally happy, laughed very openly, and felt that Lu Muyen was even more pleasing to the eye. Qi Yixian's face turned dark, and cold air exuded from his body. He never expected Lu Muyen, who always obeyed him, would refute him in such a way. He debated whether to argue back, yet felt he didn't need to dispute with an ignorant woman. But he also felt extremely discontent with Lu Muyen's attitude towards him. Gu Yanran sneered inwardly. Lu Muyen, you're so stupid. Did you think you could attract Yi Xian's gaze? A barbaric trash like you will only push him further away. Taking gentle lotus steps forward, Gu Yanran said to Lu Muyen with a look of righteousness, Young Miss Lu, don't you think this is a little too much? Zheng Rao did not harm you, so why do you humiliate her so? Lu Muyen took out a silk handkerchief and wiped her hands. Only after did she raise her head, facing Gu Yanran with a look of ridicule, saying, "Is it only when her sword pierces my chest that it's considered harm? Young Miss Gu, since you are young Miss Sing's best friend, why didn't you come out and stop me earlier? Only stepping out to demonstrate your righteous heart after you finished watching the show, is that not too late? What's more, is it in your place to tell this miss what to do? Who do you think you are as well?" When Xingro heard Lu Muyan's words, she raised her head and looked at Gu Yenran with anger burning in her eyes. Gu Yenran didn't expect that after 1 month, Lu Muyan not only seemed to be a different person, but she was also so astute, resolving the awkwardness of her vicious and humiliating acts towards Xingro, and even pushed the conflict onto herself. She wasn't afraid of Xingro hating her, but she still needed such a stupid woman to be her shield and an excuse to do things in her stead. "So young Miss Lu considers yourself reasonable for beating someone then? I saw Yi Xian stepping out to stop you, therefore I didn't. Who knew you wouldn't even give him any face today?" Gu Yenran said in a gentle voice as if having been put in a difficult position, while acting considerate of Lu Muyan. "If I stepped out, I feared that I would accidentally hurt you. If that harmed the harmony between the Lu clan and the Gu clan again, my sin would be too grave." Lu Muyao curled her lips, smiling. This woman was certainly conniving. She only said a few sentences and it tossed the criticism back to her. Chapter 3. A Challenge. "What do you mean by you heard Yi Xian tell me to stop, so you didn't step out? Also, what do you mean you didn't think I wouldn't even give him any face today? Am I related to him in any way? It's not like I'm a shameful concubine of the Qi clan that can't be shown to public." Lu Muyan chuckled and asked in reply disdainfully. Since Gu Yenran wanted to chat, she'll see it to the end. She wasn't like the original owner of this body who could only use brute force to solve problems. Gu Yenran's face paled. She hated that lowly status the most. That's why she hoped to improve her strength in the Imperial Academy and eliminate her identity as a concubine. She wanted to become Yi Xian's official wife, and not some lowly concubine. Lu Muyan did well. She successfully roused her fury. "You what? Nothing to say? I really don't know why the little concubine set by the Qi clan is still coming to the Imperial Academy to learn. The Qi clan sure is at ease. Are they not afraid of wearing a few green hats one?" It was utter nonsense, but Lu Muyan just wanted to irritate and provoke Gu Yenran. Hearing Lu Muyan's words grow more and more outrageous and unwarranted, Gu Yenran's face paled even more. She tugged at Qi Xian's clothes and called him softly, looking wronged and delicate, "Yi Xian. Lu Muyan, have you had enough? Whatever you do, I will never like you, just give up. Yenran will be a part of the Qi clan in the future. She's not someone that you can slander baselessly." Although Qi Yi Xian didn't have any romantic feelings for Gu Yenran, she was still the concubine that the clan set for him. Insulting her was equivalent to insulting the Qi clan. Especially the part about wearing a green hat, he just wanted to choke Lu Muyan to death when he heard it. Lu Muyan rolled her eyes, raised her eyebrow and sneered, "Us two females are quarreling, what is a male like you butting in for? Or do you want to be known as the crazy house husband in the empire? This miss has no interest in you already. The person who liked you is dead, so please don't misunderstand and narcissistically think I still have feelings for you anymore. Humph, you sure are glib now. So unreasonable." Qi Yi Xian simply couldn't communicate with Lu Muyan anymore. She was absolutely unreasonable today, he couldn't outmatch her. Seeing that Qi Yi Xian clearly didn't want to continue to speak to Lu Muyan, glee rose in Gu Yenran's heart. She had always felt that Qi Yi Xian actually did care for Lu Muyan, but he just hadn't realized it yet. After all, they were childhood sweethearts. So that's why, ever since she enrolled into the Imperial Academy, she tried her best to deepen the conflict and completely destroy the relationship between the two. Now the idiot Lu Muyan actually said such things, her schemes really didn't go to waste. But the debt of insulting her must be paid. "Lu Muyan, you were too much. Was last time's lesson not enough? I want you to publicly apologize to me, or else I'll pursue this further." On the surface, Gu Yenran appeared to be slightly aggrieved, yet was unyielding as she looked at Lu Muyan. It made many men nearby pity her and cast unkind gazes onto Lu Muyan. Lu Muyen folded her arms, raised her eyebrows lazily and said, "Look at you deliberately showing off a delicate appearance. The men around you don't even need to drink alcohol and they're already drunk for you. I think it's not far from wearing a green hat with such obvious seduction. And apologize in public? You think you're worthy with your status? And how do you plan on pursuing this further? You're courting death." Even though Gu Yanran was conniving, she was still only a 15-year-old girl. How could she endure such insults from her most hated person? Blinded by anger, she pulled out her sword and leapt at Lu Muyen. A smile flashed past Lu Muyen's face. She was waiting for this. She used her silk missteps and glided around Gu Yanran. When her mental energy captured Gu Yanran approaching, her figure stalled, allowing Gu Yanran's sword to pierce through her left shoulder. Gu Yanran was taken aback for a moment before she was sent flying back from a wave of energy. Piu! A mouthful of blood spurted out. Gu Yanran held her chest and lifted her head, staring at the white-clothed man who suddenly appeared. Her pupils constricted. That man actually returned. All everyone saw was a white-clothed man who walked over slowly. He was extremely handsome, with a gentle temperament that carried a sense of otherworldliness like a fallen immortal. He simply flicked his sleeve earlier, and Gu Yanran was injured, showing his insane strength. The young woman was a jade beauty, and the young man was peerless too. This was the impression he left on others. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, Yenner, are you okay? The white-clothed man walked to Lu Muyen's side, asking dotingly and in concern. Lu Muyen pressed her injured shoulder with a look of grievance, crying, "Big brother, you're finally back." This man that was like a fallen immortal was precisely Lu Muyen's blood-related eldest brother, Lu Mubai, and was also the entire Yanzhou country's peerless genius. He entered into the powerful ranks of the sword spirit stage at the age of 16. At 19 right now, he was already at peak phase sword spirit stage, was in the celestial class of the Imperial Academy, and was one of the most influential figures of the Academy. He was cold and indifferent, but he was exceptionally protective, especially towards his younger sister Lu Muyen, whom he doted on and cherished. A year ago, he left to train and gain experience. That's why so many people in the Academy dared to openly bully Lu Muyen. "Senior Lu, don't you need to explain why you injured me without even asking who's right and wrong?" The jealousy and unwillingness in Gu Yanran's eyes were quickly hidden by her. Then she asked Lu Mubai in a harsh, yet meek tone. Lu Mubai didn't even bother to look at her, took out a bottle of medicine for physical wounds from his interspatial ring, and poured it on Lu Muyen's wound. After seeing the wound stop bleeding, he replied flatly, "So what if I injured you? A shameful outsider like you isn't even worthy of teaching my little sister. You two are using your status to bully others. If Lu Muyen doesn't apologize to me today, I won't let this slide. Otherwise, I'll go straight to the emperor to ask for an explanation." Gu Yanran choked with teary eyes as if she had been wronged yet wanted to appear strong and unyielding against forces of evil. The corner of Lu Muyen's eye twitched. This woman was so deeply immersed in her character. She snorted coldly, "What does my big brother need to explain to you? The fact that you stabbed me today, I similarly won't let it slide." Lu Muyen thought a little more, then provoked Gu Yanran, saying coldly, "Since you're that powerful, how about we have a fight after 3 months during the Academy's annual competition to see who's stronger? If I lose, I'll apologize to you in front of the whole Academy. If you lose, you'll admit that you plotted against me first, then purposefully injured me and apologized to me. How about that? Do you dare?" "Sure." Gu Yanran honestly didn't know what was going on in that trash's brain. She actually wanted to compete against her in combat? What a joke. She was stronger than that trash by an entire stage. She definitely wouldn't lose. This was a perfect chance to ruthlessly trample on Lu Muyen, a noble, under her foot. She definitely wouldn't refuse such an opportunity. A trace of cunning flashed in Lu Muyen's eyes. She deliberately let Gu Yanran injure her, then took the opportunity to allow others to think she declared this challenge while emotional. On the day, she'll make sure Gu Yanran couldn't even cry. A few days ago, she received a message that Lu Mu Bai would return to the academy today. Based on the memories of the original owner, this big brother doted on and loved this little sister dearly. And Lu Mu Bai's aura had long been imprinted into her memory, so she used her mental energy to lock onto Lu Mu Bai's aura. The moment she felt Lu Mu Bai near her, the moment she used her words to anger Gu Yanran, then proposed a competition. Gu Yanran was already emotional due to the insults and humiliation, coupled with Lu Mu Bai's forceful oppression, so as she expected, the White Lotus Three readily agreed. The original owner of the body was previously schemed against by Gu Yanran and her company, resulting in her death. Now they were still relentless. Lu Mu Yen adhered to the principle of if one didn't offend me, I wouldn't offend them, if one offended me, I'll pay them back thousandfold. The most important thing to Gu Yanran was face and vanity. If she were to be defeated in front of the academy's teachers and entire student body, by a trash, she definitely couldn't take it. By then, it would ultimately leave a heart demon, so if she wanted to break through the bottlenecks of higher cultivation stages, she would meet with obstacles set by a demon. From then onwards, she would never be able to step into the pinnacle of cultivation in this lifetime. The most ruthless return to her enemy was not to let her die, but to toy her to her death. And everything fell into the eyes of a devilishly handsome man who stood by the window of an old building beside the scene. He turned to leave and muttered, "What an interesting woman." 1 cheating 2 Basically Lu Mu Bai is very handsome 3 a girl who is fake in personality. Chapter 4 Lu Mu Bai. After Lu Mu Bai took Lu Mu Yen and left, Qi Xian and the others also left one after the other, leaving only some students behind, chatting. A few girls in the same class as Lu Mu Yen gathered. One of the plain-looking girls who dressed simply said, "Did Lu Mu Yen go crazy? She actually promised a fight with Gu Yanran. Was she trying to vie for Qi Xian with Gu Yanran again?" "Yeah, she actually wants to fight for him against Gu Yanran." In what way could she compare to her? Gu Yanran was currently an initial phase imp-grade sword master and she was only an initial phase sword apprentice. I heard she only got there because the Lu clan spent a vast amount of money to buy high-grade medicinal resources for her. With her condition, she actually dared to initiate a challenge. Did she want to die? Another fancily dressed woman said with disdain. Another person stepped up and said bitterly, "It's because her identity's higher than Gu Yanran. After all, she's got an empress as an aunt, a marshal for a grandfather who helped found the country, and the imperial capital's god of war for a father." But even though Gu Yanran comes from a family of merchants, ever since her elder sister entered the imperial harem, she had always been favored by the emperor and rose to the imperial noble consort status after only 2 years. Plus her clan's the imperial capital's richest clan. While her status isn't higher than the trash's, it wasn't too low either and just worthy enough for Qi Xian. The fancily dressed woman continued. The first girl sneered. "Yeah, just last month she clashed with Gu Yanran and was accidentally severely injured. Who knew the moment she recovered, she'd shamelessly come back to the academy. But so what if her background was strong? Since she was unreasonably causing trouble, even if the Lu clan wanted to support her, they had no reason to. In the end it was the prime minister who became the peacemaker and the case fizzled out. Was her brain actually kicked by a donkey? She even dared to propose a challenge. Was she not afraid that the Lu clan would lose all their face because of her? Who cares when the time comes? Well, just watch a good show. Lu Mu Yen and Gu Yanran's promised battle spread throughout the academy within only 1 day, and similar gossip could be heard everywhere within the academy. The unanimous thoughts were that Lu Mu Yan's brain had a stroke, she was looking for a beating, and was probably trying to play some sort of tricks to attract Qi Xian's attention again. Basically, everyone in the school was waiting for a good show. After Lu Mu Bai bandaged Lu Mu Yen, he looked at her with concern and asked, "Why do you want to fight Gu Yanran? You aren't her opponent." "Right now I'm not her opponent, but I will be after 3 months. Don't worry, big brother." Ever since Lu Mu Yen inherited the memories of the original owner and agreed to live well in her stead, she was trying to integrate herself into the Lu clan and treat the people of the Lu clan as true family. Lu Mubai looked at Lu Mu Yen with a complicated expression. His little sister actually changed. When Lu Mu Yen was born, the imperial capital's divine seer told them that she would encounter a life and death situation at 15 years old. But once she successfully overcame the situation, she'd be enlightened and completely change. Their family was told not to be surprised as this was a fortuitous opportunity and she may even be able to walk the path of the strong because of that. Now he couldn't help but believe the result of the divine seer's divination, though a sister like this assured him even more. Then how do you plan on surpassing her? Have you thought it through? Lu Mubai asked with a soft smile. When Lu Mu Yen first entered this body, half dead and in a conscious coma, she overheard her mother talk about how there was a person who divined that when she turned 15, her personality would change drastically. Therefore, she gradually revealed her true nature without concealing anything and let the members of the Lu clan slowly adapt to her as their daughter. Even though this was the first time she saw Lu Mubai, but because she inherited the original owner's feelings, she felt close to this big brother of hers. Lu Mu Yen pretended to be confused, as if recollecting something. After thinking for a while, she said, "Big brother, when I was injured and unconscious, I dreamt that I went to another world. There, the cultivation system was different to ours. I felt like I experienced thousands of years and learnt a lot of things, one of which was the marrow cleansing pill that could change Terminal Meridian's constitution. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." Thanks seeing shock in Lu Mubei's eyes, she continued, "I could eradicate my Terminal Meridian's constitution completely and the blocked meridians could be unclogged as long as I take the marrow cleansing pill." Really? That's fantastic. Do you know what ingredients are required for this type of pill? Lu Mubei's eyes were filled with joy and excitement. Lu Mu Yen nodded. "I know, and I can also refine it. I went to the Academy's library today to research. Even though the names of the spiritual herbs between the two worlds were different, according to the medicinal properties and the illustration on the books, they were definitely the same thing. Yenner, it's a blessing in disguise this time. What spiritual herbs do you need? Write it down, Big Brother will go find it for you." Lu Mubai caressed Lu Mu Yen's head with a gentle smile. Lu Mu Yen didn't dislike this gesture. Then she wrote down the names of the spiritual herbs and handed it to Lu Mubai. "These are the herbs. The rest are fine, but the flame fruit is a bit troublesome." After reading the list of herbs, Lu Mubai frowned slightly. "The flame fruit is definitely a little troublesome, but little sister, don't worry, I'll definitely find it for you." "Thank you, Big Brother, I'll also look for it as well. Before the battle, I'll definitely refine the marrow cleansing pill and improve my constitution. At that time, I'll also take back the stage I lost last time." A layer of coldness surfaced in her eyes. Lu Mubei's face darkened and he nodded. Recently the Gu clan has been very arrogant. Even Auntie in the palace is being suppressed by Imperial Noble Consort Gu. If it wasn't that the Imperial capital was preparing for war, and the Imperial family needs funds from the Gu clan, your incident last time wouldn't be suppressed like that. When Lu Mu Yen was injured by Gu Yenran last time, Lu Mubai happened to be out training. There were two main reasons why the Lu clan didn't pursue it until the end. One was that the Imperial family intervened, hoping the Lu clan wouldn't pursue any further. After all, Lu Mu Yen was fine in the end. And second, it was just as the divination said, Lu Mu Yen indeed recovered from near death. Only because of this did the Lu clan not pursue the issue further against the Gu clan. By the way, about the challenge, I need Big Brother to put in a few good words for me when we return home. Otherwise grandfather and father and them will think him being willful again. Lu Mu Yen begged as she hugged Lu Mubei's arm and swung it back and forth. The reason why she provoked Gu Yenran to promise a fight only after she locked onto Lu Mubei's aura was so that he could deal with the Lu clan. She definitely wouldn't be able to handle the tears of her beautiful mother. Lu Mubai nodded helplessly, saying dotingly, "I really don't know what to do with you. Settle a little for the time being. I fear the entire population of the imperial capital knows of your challenge with Gu Yenran." "Don't worry, Big Brother, I will." After her heavenly eldest brother left, Lu Mu Yen began to think about what to do next. She planned to go to the Mercenary Union to see if there were any missions to the Blazing Mountain Range. The effects of the flame fruit could only be preserved for 2 months, so it'd be extremely difficult to find in the imperial capital. Instead of wasting time waiting without certainty, it was more reliable for her to seek for it herself. She initially wanted to go home, but realized that if she went home now, she'd definitely be interrogated about the issue regarding the battle and might even draw out her mother's tears. So she decided she might as well not to return home for the time being. She'd return after Lu Mu Bai spoke with them. Her residence was situated in a serene area. It was an independent, small courtyard and was a place specifically provided to children and disciples of meritorious clans by the imperial capital. It was a symbol of identity and status and wasn't something that could be bought with money. So it stirred the jealousy of many people when a weak person like Lu Mu Yen could inhabit this courtyard. Gu Yen Ran and Zheng Ro were amongst them. After viewing the courtyard, she immediately collapsed onto her bed and fell deep asleep. She was very tired today. This body still required more exercise and training. So she decided to have a good rest and take a trip to the Mercenary Union early tomorrow morning. Chapter 5. The Mercenary Union. Early next morning, Lu Mu Yen went to the imperial capital's liveliest street. A branch of the Mercenary Union was located at the end of that street. The Mercenary Union was branched all over the continent, and it was easy to join. One only needed 10 silver coins to register and receive a low-rank mercenary badge. If one wanted to build their own party, then it required 1 gold coin and the leader must be at least a great sword master. Each party member would then be issued a party medal. But regardless of whether it was a single mercenary or a party, as long as their task was completed, then their personal badges would be upgraded. Along the way, there were numerous vendors and street stalls everywhere, with the employees of various shops vying for customers. The lively streets were full of yelling and peddling. They sold anything, but the most sold items were still those used by mercenaries. Lu Mu Yen browsed the area with interest at first, but the things for sale were rather low-level and useless to her. Meanwhile, seeing that her clothing wasn't ordinary, owners of small vendors rushed over to sell their goods. She immediately dismissed the thought to continue perusing and walked into the Mercenary Union. The door of the Mercenary Union was wide open, with people flooding in and out, and was also very lively. There was a large hall upon entering, and in the middle was a circular stone table, with a height that came up to just above Lu Mu Yan's abdomen. Sitting behind the desk were a few people in uniforms who were doing registration while mercenaries stood around them. She didn't rush to register, and instead walked towards the bulletin board that displayed the latest missions and started browsing. The Mercenary Union's missions were divided into 10 ranks, rank 1 being the lowest, and rank 10 being the highest. Each rank had its differences in difficulty and rewards. After looking through it, she found a mission to the Blazing Mountain Range in a corner. Rank 3 mission. Travel to the Blazing Mountain Range to find a Tier 2 fire attribute demonic beast with no restrictions to the species. The reward is 1,000 gold coins. As she read this task, Lu Mu Yen frowned. This task for individual mercenaries wasn't suitable for her. She wasn't familiar with the Blazing Mountain Range. It was best if she could take a party task. So she turned to the round stone table in the middle of the lobby for a consultation. "Does young miss need any help?" A young man who just happened to be free asked Lu Mu Yen with a smile. Lu Mu Yen nodded, lightly smiled, and said, "I want to ask, aside from the missions posted on the bulletin board, are there any other missions issued for the Blazing Mountain Range? I'll check for you, please wait a moment." The man quickly found a book and started flipping through it. After that, he raised his head and asked, "Do you have a requirement for when the mission was issued?" "Recently issued, best if it's a party mission." Lu Mu Yen replied. The young man nodded, searched a while longer, then pointed at the book and said to Lu Mu Yen, "There are 2 fitting your requirements. One is a rank 3 mission where you need to enter deep into Blazing Mountain Range and capture a Tier 3 fire-type demonic beast. But even though this mission's rich in rewards, the cultivation base of the mercenaries who participate must be at least advanced phase sword apprentice." The man paused, then continued. "There's another rank 2 mission which requires the party to enter the Blazing Mountain Range, hunt 30 Tier 2 fire spirit rats and retrieve their crystal cores. The only requirement is that they're at or above the initial phase sword apprentice stage. Lu Muyen thought about it. She wanted to participate in the first mission as well. It was rumored that the flame fruit was found only deep in the periphery of the blazing mountain range, but her cultivation base wasn't high enough for the mission. She mused a bit, then asked, apart from the first task requiring a great sword master, can anyone else participate? The young man looked at Lu Muyen with a little surprise, then said after a pause, they were also recruiting experienced physicians, and they must be at or above advanced phase sword novice. Physician? How do they judge if one was eligible to participate or not? A glimmer of joy flashed in Lu Muyen's eyes. She was actually qualified for the position of a physician. In her last life, when she reached a bottleneck at the celestial stage, she incarnated as a mortal and entered the secular world to comprehend the path of the heavens. There, she met a mortal genius doctor who taught her the art of the golden needles, and naturally she learnt all the medical skills. After tempering the void within herself, she didn't just discard her medical skills, but instead applied it to her own golden needles method she created herself, and also improved a lot in alchemy. This time, the organizer is Yi Qinghan, the young heir of the Yi clan. If you want to participate in this mission, you need to go to the Mercenary Union's second floor to accept a special personal assessment set by their clan at the Mercenary Union. Lu Muyen nodded, took out 10 silver coins and handed them over, saying, I want to register as a mercenary, please register for me. The man didn't ask too much, accepted the silver coins, and began registering for her. After finishing, he gave her a rank 1 mercenary badge. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, thank you. Lu Muyen said with a smile after putting the badge away. The young man shook his head with a smile, then decided to remind her, if Miss wants to go to the Blazing Mountain Range, I advise you, that place is listed as one of the 10 treacherous zones. There are tier 1 to 6 demonic beasts in there, and maybe even stronger, and is extremely dangerous. If it's not necessary, it's best not to go. Thank you for the caution. Lu Muyen smiled and nodded, then left the registration area, heading for the second floor. The area on the second floor was also very spacious, divided into many rooms, and each room had an evident purpose. Lu Muyen quickly found the place to enlist for the rank 3 mission to the Blazing Mountain Range. After entering the room, she saw that there were already 2 young mercenaries inside being questioned. She entered and asked an idle examiner, an old man, may I ask if you are still recruiting physicians for this time's mission? You want to enlist? The old man was around 60 years old with a pair of cloudy eyes that revealed a hidden brightness. He asked Lu Muyen faintly. Lu Muyen nodded. Yes, I want to enlist. Have you done it before? Have you ever worked as a physician at any medical clinic? I've never worked as a doctor, but I still have a certain degree of certainty in my medical skills. You can test me. A sense of confidence exuded from Lu Muyen as she replied with a smile. The old man scrutinized her, thought for a little bit, then said, Can you tell if I'm sick or not? Can I take your pulse? Lu Muyen asked. The old man nodded, stretched out a rather thin arm from beneath his sleeves and handed it over to her. Seeing this, Lu Muyen used her index and middle finger to touch the old man's artery. After a short while, Lu Muyen retracted her hand, her eyes filled with solemnity, and said to the old man, You suffered an extremely serious internal injury 10 years ago and it injured your organs. Your meridians are also blocked because of the sword aura. The old man's expression changed from the initial inattentiveness to the current surprise. But then he furrowed his brows and said, Although it's not known by all that I was injured, you can still find out about it if you investigate thoroughly. This can't prove you have the qualifications to enlist. Lu Muyen chuckled softly, then brought her lips beside the old man's ear, and said in a voice only the two of them could hear, Not only are your meridians blocked, but your cultivation also halted. There'll be a day every 3 months where your old ailments flare up and you'll feel pain to the bones, preferring to die than to live. The old man's eyes widened and stared at the beautiful girl adorned with a large smile. The things she said were only known by the superiors of their clan, and he believed it was impossible anyone in the clan would leak his secrets. Then this meant the girl did indeed have some talents. With a complicated look in his eyes, he asked, "Then can you heal it?" "Yes," Lu Muyen said firmly. Upon hearing that, delightful surprise surfaced on the old man's face, but then he asked with gravity, "Don't play around with this old man here. This sword wound was left by a powerful sword monarch stage cultivator. In these 10 years, I also visited numerous famous doctors, but not a single person could promise that they could heal it. What reason do I have to play with you? I really can heal your injury. From your pulse, I could deduce that tonight one is precisely the night your wound will flare up. I can use my art of the golden needles to treat you first so that you can avoid the pain you'll experience tonight. But it'll be quite troublesome to fully heal you," Lu Muyen said with a soft smile. There was a firm look in the old man's eyes. He was obsessed with the path of the sword for his entire life, and he suffered extremely when he could no longer advance. Still, he never gave up. Even though he never broke through, he still maintained his current cultivation at the advanced phase sword spirit stage. He might as well take the leap and consider it as treating a dead horse as if it's alive too. He didn't think this little girl who's only at the sword apprentice stage had the courage to play any tricks. "Sure. Putting aside avoiding the pain, as long as you can alleviate my pain even a little tonight, I'll trust you and directly enlist you as the accompanying physician for this mission," the old man replied. Lu Muyen nodded with a faint smile, not revealing her thoughts. After the two mercenaries left, the old man asked the members of the clan to close the door, allowing Lu Muyen to apply her skills of the needle for him. One author wrote tomorrow night in the original, but the next chapter actually suggests it was tonight. Too, he might as well give it a shot. Chapter 6, Golden Needles Treatment. Only the old man and 3 people from the Yi clan remained in the room. A middle-aged man of the same generation as the old man watched Lu Muyen with eyes filled with doubt. He really couldn't understand why his eldest brother would believe in a young woman with such a low cultivation base. Then coldness surfaced in his eyes. She better not play with them, or else he wouldn't let her go, even if she as a beauty. He didn't want to see his eldest brother have hopped then fall into despair again. Lu Muyen didn't care about the looks of the others. She took out a set of golden needles had made specifically for her, channeled a sliver of her spiritual energy into them, then pierced them through the old man's clothes, landing on several of his acupuncture points on his upper body. Even though her trash body couldn't absorb spiritual force after transmigrating here, she ended up figuring a way to accumulate a sliver of spiritual force and convert it into spiritual energy within her body. But it sure hurt to use it up after all that effort. She used her slight bit of spiritual energy with the golden needles to treat the old man. This time, she believed, when the old man's injury flared up, he wouldn't experience that excruciating pain anymore. She had confidence in her medical skills. After approximately an hour, Lu Muyen's face began to pale and sweat dripped from her face. It couldn't be helped. Maintaining the coordination between her spiritual energy and the golden needles was very energy-consuming for this body. After another hour, Lu Muyen retrieved her needles with a face drained of blood. Her body was extremely weak, and she sat on the stool gasping for breath. It sure exhausted her. This trash constitution truly was troublesome. Meanwhile, the old man was the complete opposite of Lu Muyen. Not only was his face rosy, but he was also ecstatic. His meridians that had been blocked for ages finally loosened slightly. He felt a warm current pour into his dantian which had been damaged by the sword aura, nourishing it. Seeing Lu Muyen's pale face, he asked with concern, "Little miss, are you okay?" Lu Muyen shook her head. "It took up a lot of my energy to treat you, but it'll be fine after I go home to rest for a night." "How do you feel?" "I feel that the blocked meridians are a little looser now. There's also a slight connection between me and my damaged dantian. Will my meridians be completely clear after a few more sessions of your needles?" the old man asked impatiently. Upon hearing the old man's words, the faces of the 3 people beside them brightened with joy, especially the middle-aged man, who was also a little ecstatic. Lu Muyen chuckled and said, "It wasn't that easy. You need to use some medicine together with the art of the golden needles to be able to completely cure your chronic illness." Seeing the time of day outside, Lu Muyen said, "I'll return now. Observe the results of my treatment tonight. I'll come back tomorrow morning." Very well. This old man is looking forward to the results of mistreatment. The old man said with a rare smile. By the time Lu Muyen returned to the academy, it was already the evening. After briefly eating some food, she knocked out on the bed. The spiritual energy within her already dried up and she was mentally and physically exhausted, so she could only temporarily supplement her stamina through sleeping. She simply couldn't wait to be able to refine that marrow-cleansing pill to improve this Buddhist incompetent constitution, then successfully start to cultivate. The next morning, as Lu Muyen was about to leave, she bumped into Lu Mu Bai. "Big brother, good morning." Lu Muyen greeted with a smile. A soft smile appeared on Lu Mu Bai's extraordinarily handsome face. "Where are you going so early?" "To the mercenary union." Lu Muyen didn't want to conceal her whereabouts, and she didn't think she could conceal it even if she wanted to. With the Lu clan's power and influence, it wasn't difficult to track her down in the imperial capital. Lu Mu Bai looked at her in surprise and asked in befuddlement, "What are you going to the mercenary union for?" "Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." "Thanks, I accepted a mission to the Blazing Mountain Range. I want to go see if I pass today." Lu Muyen replied with a smile. "Nonsense. Is going to the Blazing Mountain Range a game to you? Do you know how dangerous it is there?" Lu Mu Bai's expression chilled and scolded her. Lu Muyen understood that Lu Mu Bai was being considerate of her, so she didn't mind his dissatisfaction. She stepped up to tug at Lu Mu Bai's sleeve and said mischievously, "Big brother, I want to get rid of my reputation as trash as soon as possible, but the search for the flame fruit's hopeless, so I might as well initiate the attack instead of waiting passively." "Who said the search for the flame fruit's hopeless?" "I came today specifically to tell you that I'll be heading to the Blazing Mountain Range in 2 days to help you find the flame fruit. You just stay in the imperial capital." A look of helplessness rose on Lu Mu Bai's handsome face. Lu Muyen shook her head. "Big brother, if a fledgling wishes to soar through the vast sky, then they must first learn to fly by themselves. I want to become stronger, but I don't want to rely on you guys to grow. And this time, I'm going with the Yi clan to the Blazing Mountain Range, so it's not too dangerous." She hugged Lu Mu Bai's arm and shook it again, continuing, "Please just let me go. I promise to come back safe and alive." Yenna, just why are you so stubborn?" Lu Mu Bai sighed, looking at his little sister dotingly and said, "Then I'll accompany you." "Big brother, do you really not trust me?" "Relax, I promise you that I'll definitely come back safe and alive. They say if you don't die from a disaster, there's bound to be great fortune following one. I didn't die last time, so there'll definitely be no problems this time. Please, just let me gain some training and experience myself." Lu Muyen rubbed her head on Lu Mu Bai's shoulder endearingly. "You're just so stubborn. Forget it, if you want to go, then go. But you must pay attention to your safety, got it?" Lu Mu Bai compromised. His little sister was great in every way, all but her stubborn temper. She simply wouldn't stop until she hit herself against the south wall too. It wasn't something that he could change either, and even if he did stop her, she'd still sneak away. After musing, Lu Mu Bai retrieved a yellow talisman from his interspatial ring and handed it to Lu Muyen. "This is a 1,000-li teleportation talisman. If you're in danger, use this talisman. It can teleport you 1,000 li 3. No matter what, safety first. Even if you don't find the flame fruit, it doesn't matter, prioritize your own life. Big brother will help you inquire about the flame fruit in the imperial city during this time." "Thank you, big brother, you're the best." Lu Muyen took the talisman and put it away. In this world, sword masters could be divided into alchemists, smiths, formation masters, and talisman masters, to name a few. It was rather similar to the cultivators in her world. But these professions were scarce here, and all of them were treated like treasures, vied for by various entities. Honestly, just so willful. Lu Mu Bai said dotingly as he tapped Lu Muyen's nose with his slender fingers. Lu Muyen finally tricked her big brother away, and seeing that it was already rather late in the morning, she hurried towards the gate of the academy. Yet who knew that she'd bump into Qi Yixin and Yunjin there? HM? Isn't this Mu Yen? Where are you going in such a hurry? Yunjin asked with a smile as he blocked Lu Mu Yan's path as if he and she were familiar with each other. Lu Mu Yen rolled her eyes at him. This guy did it on purpose, right? Why else would he block her path when she was leaving in a hurry? Yeah. I'm in a hurry to leave, please move aside. Lu Mu Yen didn't even look at Qi Yixian as she attempted to go around them. But her behavior made Qi Yixian feel exceptionally unpleasant. Was Lu Mu Yen playing hard to get? She even pretended to ignore him. He sure wanted to see what tricks she wanted to play. Lu Mu Yen. Qi Yixian called after Lu Mu Yen with a frown. One shall be fine, two very stubborn, 3 unit of measurement. 1 li equals 500 m equals 546 yards. Therefore 1000 li equals 500 km equals 300 miles. Chapter 7. The mercenaries' mission. Seeing that the promised time was arriving soon, yet these two people were still here chirping around, she looked at Qi Xian impatiently and said, "What? If you have something to say, say it. If you need to fart, then hurry up and fart." Lu Mu Yen, do understand that you're a female, don't keep acting so unfeminine every day. Qi Yixian didn't expect that Lu Mu Yen would be this impatient and rude to him. But why was it that when he looked at her simple and delicate appearance in her elegant purple dress, he suddenly remembered the times when they were younger, that cute little girl who would chase after him calling Big Brother Xian? Since when did their relationship become like this? While Qi Yixian was lost in his own world, Lu Mu Yen said sarcastically, without giving him any face, "Who are you to me? What does it matter to you whether I behave and look feminine or not? There's something wrong with you." She didn't wait for Qi Yixian to reply and quickly went around them. Qi Yixian's eyes revealed faint surprise as he stood there, staring at the purple figure leaving their sight, with Yunjin who looked as if he was watching an interesting play. Lu Mu Yen cursed Qi Xian inwardly as she hurried. That damnable man, what was he doing acting so arrogant and self-righteous in front of her? He really thought he was someone important? Lu Mu Yan's feelings for Qi Yixian were very complicated. Sometimes she would despise him, yet her heart would also throb for him from time to time. Although the original owner of this body made the decision willingly to completely dissipate, but that strong love for Qi Yixian still remained within her body and was inherited by her. That's why every time she met Qi Yixian, she needed to consciously suppress the strong feelings for him that was left behind. So she didn't want to see Qi Yixian even more. "Yixian, I don't think Lu Mu Yan's playing hard to get. Do you remember that rumored divination?" Yunjin's eyes were filled with interest. He was currently very fascinated by Lu Mu Yen, so he hoped that she wouldn't disappoint him. Qi Yixian nodded with a frown. Clans like theirs definitely knew about the divination from 16 years ago, one made by the divine seer. It seemed that the divination came true. Lu Mu Yen really changed, and seeing the beautiful figure disappearing in their sight, he felt an inexplicable sense of loss. Then he shook his head and laughed in ridicule at himself. When Lu Mu Yen arrived at the mercenary union, the agreed time had already passed. She cursed Qi Xian and Yunjin again inwardly. The moment she entered the door, she found one of the juniors from the Yi clan she met yesterday waiting in the lobby. "Miss, you finally arrived. The elders have been waiting upstairs for a while now," the young man said to Lu Mu Yen with a smile. Lu Mu Yen nodded. "Thank you for your trouble. Let's go." When she entered the room, she discovered that aside from the middle-aged man, there were 2 others. One of them was an old man that was around the same age as the elder from yesterday, who was red-haired, red-bearded, had a slightly rotund body, and an amicable smile on his rosy face. There was also a younger man who wore a dark patterned black robe, around 20 years old, with a handsome face. His facial features were as if they were sculpted, clear and defined, while his thin lips were slightly curled. Lu Mu Yen guessed that he was probably Yi clan's young lord, Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan raised his sharp, phoenix-type eyes and also scrutinized Lu Mu Yen. She wore a simple and elegant purple dress, enveloping her graceful and attractive body. Her face without any powder was like a painting, and her facial features were exquisite. While her temperament appeared otherworldly, she was indeed an interesting beauty. "Sorry, something happened so late. Lu Mu Yen said with a smile to the old man from yesterday. A type of smile he hadn't revealed yesterday was now apparent on his face, and he politely cupped his hands. Miss is too polite. Thanks to mistreatment yesterday using the art of the golden needles, the pain that occurred last night was indeed not as agonizing as before. This old man truly admires Miss' medical skills. You're welcome. I also did this just so I could join your team to the Blazing Mountain Range, so we were only obtaining what we each needed. Lu Mu Yen said bluntly. There was no need to hide anything in front of these intelligent and astute people. Miss Lu is indeed straightforward. Seems like the rumors in the imperial capital about Miss is erroneous. Yi Qinghan's voice was mature and magnetic, very pleasant. Lu Mu Yan smiled softly. Since you know that I'm Lu Mu Yen, then aren't you afraid that this trash here is playing with you? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks the Yi clan and her mother's clan, the Ling clan, were equals as they were 2 of the 10 distinguished spirit sword clans of this continent's eastern region. Even the imperial family didn't dare provoke these formidable clans. If a man blessed enough to be born into such clans like Yi Qinghan were to investigate her, it'd be as easy as blowing off dust. The fact that you could control old Lu's chronic illness from recurring proves that you indeed have some real abilities. Listening and believing is not my style, I only believe what I see. The process is not important, I'm more concerned with the results. Yi Qinghan raised an eyebrow as he said with a faint smile. He naturally knew of that divination about Lu Mu Yen. Divinations from the divine seer were never wrong, so towards Lu Mu Yen's change, because of the divination from 15 years ago, even he felt it was only a matter of course. Naturally, why Lu Mu Yen knew the art of the golden needles had to do with her own fortuitous encounters, so he wouldn't ask. Then do you mean that I'm qualified to participate in your mercenary mission? Lu Mu Yen raised an eyebrow. Yi Qinghan chuckled, naturally. Our mission his time lacks a good physician. We welcome your participation. I'm the leader of this mission, Yi Qinghan. When will we leave? Lu Mu Yen asked with a smile, best to leave as soon as possible. Yi Qinghan glanced at old Lu and the others and said, initially we were planning to wait until the 3rd day after old Lau's chronic illness flares up, but now we decided to leave tomorrow. Is that fine with you? That's fine, then it's settled. By the way, I heard that young Miss Lu can completely cure old Lu's illness? Yi Qinghan's eyes revealed a look of expectation. Lu Mu Yen smiled and said, indeed I can, but right now I can only control the illness. If you want me to completely cure it, you need to pair the needles with medicine. 3 sessions should be enough to treat and fully recover. Then does young Miss Lu have any conditions? Based on Lu Mu Yan's background, not to mention how pampered and cherished she was in the Lu clan, she wouldn't risk going to the Blazing Mountain Range for the puny 30,000 gold coin reward, unless there were some secrets. Admiration flashed by in Lu Mu Yan's eyes. This man was indeed smart. She also preferred straightforward transactions. I require the flame fruit. After you guys help me obtain the flame fruit at the Blazing Mountain Range, I can treat old Lu. Of course, if I end up not finding the flame fruit, I can only say I'm unlucky, I'll still treat old Lu. As for in exchange, we'll talk about it then. Well, either way, I won't make it difficult for you guys. Very well, I agree. A smile rose on Yi Qinghan's handsome face. Even though the flame fruit wasn't easy to obtain, if it could be used in exchange for old Lu's health, then they still benefited from this. Not to mention, whether it was Lu Mu Yan's background or her very person, he felt that she was worth befriending. With such a beauty as company, their journey to the Blazing Mountain Range wouldn't be boring anymore either. Then tomorrow at dawn we'll gather here and leave. Yi Qinghan thought for a moment, then smiled and added, don't be late tomorrow, young Miss Lu. Lu Mu Yen rolled her eyes at him, what a petty man. I know, see you tomorrow. I still need to make some preparations, so I'll leave first. Lu Mu Yen said with slight annoyance. Yi Qinghan's deep black eyes were colored with a smile, nodding, see you then. One original says 16, could be typo from author. Note, since it's the weekend, I'll publish 4 altogether over Saturday and Sunday edit. Cry I reread it just now and didn't think I spelt Yiqing Han's name wrong so many times. It's not Yiqing Yan. Chapter 8. The Blazing Mountain Range. Before sunrise the next morning, Lu Mu Yen went to the mercenary union. When she arrived, Yiqing Han and the others were already there. Young Miss Lu sure is punctual today, Yiqing Han said with a smile, looking at the purple-clothed woman walking towards them. Lu Mu Yen arrived and shrugged her shoulders. I'm afraid that if I'm late, you guys wouldn't wait for me. You're our physician, even if we don't wait for others, we must wait for you. Yiqing Han smiled. The two chatted a few more, then the team was ready to leave. They rode the Tier 1 demonic beast, Tailwind Horse. As such, they could decrease the time going back and forth. Yiqing Han and his party consisted of 6 people. Aside from Yiqing Han, Lu Mu Yen only recognized old Lu. In addition to them, there was a young cold beauty and 3 other young men. 2 of the young men appeared to be hired mercenaries. The continent where Lu Mu Yen was located was named Tianling Continent, consisting of the 4 major regions, the eastern, western, southern and northern regions, as well as countless large and small regions. Every region also had numerous large and small countries. Yanzhou country was considered a country with strength in the middle-low range within the major eastern region, and one of Tianling Continent's 10 treacherous zones was located right within its border, the famous Blazing Mountain Range. It took 5 days to arrive at the Blazing Mountain Range from the imperial capital on the backs of the tailwind horses. During the 5 days, Lu Mu Yen and the others only stayed at an inn 2 of the nights, while they slept in the open for 3 of them. The Blazing Mountain Range was rich in cultivation resources, so even though it was considered one of the 10 most dangerous places, there were still many mercenaries and sword masters who came. Under normal circumstances, as long as one didn't traverse deep into the periphery, it wouldn't be too dangerous. Looking at the Crimson Mountain Range still far away, she already felt waves upon waves of heat rushing at her. Lu Mu Yen tugged the reins of her tailwind horse and came to a halt. We've arrived at the Blazing Mountain Range. Yiqing Han looked to the distance with a smile. Because they rushed all the way here, Lu Mu Yan's spiritual energy had long dried out again, not to mention this body hadn't yet recovered well enough, so whenever they took time to rest, she immediately went to sleep to replenish her energy and didn't converse much with Yiqing Han and his party. You came to the Blazing Mountain Range to capture a spirit pet? Lu Mu Yen asked with a smile. There was also a profession called Spirit Beast Master in this world. These people had mental energy exceptionally stronger than the average sword master, could directly imprint a seal in a demonic beast's sea of consciousness, then contract them as a spirit pet. As such, the spirit pet couldn't betray their master, could help their master during battle, and their own tier could also increase. Yiqing Han didn't conceal it either and nodded. My little sister will be celebrating her 15th birthday soon. I want to capture a fire attribute demonic beast that's tier 3 or above for her to contract as a spirit pet. Why didn't you bring her? Lu Mu Yen wondered and asked. Her boat is not in good health, that's why it's up to me. When mentioning his little sister, his gaze grew softer. Then, suddenly realizing something, he turned to Lu Mu Yen, asking, Young Miss Lu, you're very skilled in medicine, could you cure fetal poison? Fetal poison? So it's because she was poisoned in the womb that she's in bad health? Lu Mu Yen asked. Yiqing Han sighed and nodded, saying, yes. She was poisoned when she was in the womb, and many physicians said she couldn't live past 20 years old. That's hard to say. It wasn't that fetal poison was incurable, but I still need to see your younger sister for the specifics to be able to make a decision. Lu Mu Yen was still confident in her medical skills. If she could successfully reach the foundation establishment stage of her previous world, and use her spiritual energy paired with medicine, it wasn't difficult to treat that kind of fetal poison. Yiqing Han's eyes lit up. Having hope was better than determining that it couldn't be cured. He said sincerely, then can young Miss Lu have a look at my little sister? Payment's not a problem. Apologies, I don't have any time lately. After the Imperial Academy's annual competition is over, they'll take the time to come look. Lu Mu Yan's current objective was to first refine the marrow cleansing pill and make a shocking reversal at the annual competition. Yi Qinghan's sister had been ill for many years already, so there wasn't a need to hurry. Not to mention she had no spiritual energy in her either, so the treatment wouldn't be very effective. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, that sounds good. Regardless, it'll be troubling young Miss Lu. Yi Qinghan also understood his little sister's condition. Even though she was weak and had cold symptoms, it wasn't as if she could be cured within a day or two. They traveled forward and only took a little more than an hour to arrive at the entrance to the blazing mountain range. There were quite a few people who traveled here as well. Does any one of you want to purchase a map of the blazing fire mountain? Seeing that the clothing on these few people weren't something commoners could wear, a young man in a light blue robe came up with a smile to sell his products. I also have the Blazing Mountain Range's spiritual herbs and demonic beasts records. I promise it'll be useful to you all. The Blazing Mountain Range Map. Yi Qinghan smiled, clearly disbelieving, as even sword monarchs wouldn't recklessly enter the central area of the Blazing Mountain Range, so how could this young man have any map? The blue-robed young man also knew what Yi Qinghan was thinking, so he smiled and said, I indeed don't have the map for the entire Blazing Mountain Range, but I do have the map for the entire periphery. This map was a summary of the information brought out by the mercenaries that entered. My master used 10 years to finish this map. If it's not accurate, I don't want any money. Price. Lu Muyen saw that the young boy's eyes were clear and clever and didn't look like a liar. 100 black gold coins for one. The young boy quoted the price. On Qihua Continent 1 there were 3 types of common currencies, gold coins, black gold coins, and purple gold coins. It was at a ratio of 1 to 100, that is, 1 black gold coin was equal to 100 gold coins, and 1 purple gold coin was equal to 100 black gold coins. Your price is a bit expensive, isn't it? A baby-faced young man beside Yi Qinghan said. The blue-clothed boy smiled and shook his head. My price corresponds to the quality of the product. This map isn't some fake like the others. I've been here selling maps for more than a year. If it's not accurate, you can come back to find me. Are the spiritual herbs and demonic beast maps you have also of the periphery? Lu Muyen was more interested in them. I have everything on the periphery. I also have a map on the border between the periphery and the outer ring of the forest. But the price is more expensive, but I can also promise accuracy. The blue-clothed young man said with pride. This was the crystallization of his master's 10 years of work. Lu Muyen showed interest and asked, Then are the locations of where the spiritual herbs grow and where the demonic beasts roam also accurate? The booklet only records the approximate location and can't determine the exact position. If you want to search for them, you can only go according to the location. The areas of some spiritual herbs and demonic beasts couldn't be determined. After all, not many mercenaries want to enter the border between the outer ring and the periphery. The blue-clothed young man thought for a bit before telling Lu Muyen the truth. Then give me a copy of each. How much altogether? Lu Muyen wasn't familiar with the Blazing Mountain Ranges, and though she followed Yi Qinghan and his party, this was a place full of danger. If they were separated, she had an extra guarantee. Seeing how generous the beautiful purple-clothed young girl was, the blue-clothed young man smiled merrily and took out 4 books from the cloth bag he was carrying on his back and said, The map is 100 black gold coins. The spiritual herbs and demonic beasts map were 100 black gold coins each, and the map of spiritual herbs and demonic beasts on the border was 300 black gold coins. So a total of 500 black gold coins too. Lu Muyen's small vault was still rather rich, and Grandfather Lu even gifted her a precious interspatial ring after she regained consciousness. So she took out the entire 500 black gold coins without a care and handed it to the blue-clothed young man. Keep it safe. The young man handed the books to Lu Muyen, then cautioned with a smile, Miss, ensure you don't enter the outer ring. It's truly too dangerous there. I understand, thank you. Lu Muyen nodded. Her impression of the blue-clothed young man was pretty good. Let's go. After she bought the book, Lu Muyen said to Yi Qinghan and the others. Yi Qinghan naturally had information on the Blazing Mountain Range, but he didn't stop Lu Muyen from buying it. He smiled and nodded, then lead the rest into the Blazing Mountain Ranges. One author wrote Qihua continent, but there have never been any mentions of that continent. I'm pretty sure Tianling continent is the overall world there in, while Qihua continent specifically refers to the one she's on. Maybe native speakers understand the difference despite the same usage of the words. Or the author made a mistake, but she mentioned it again in a later chapter, or I made a mistake. I'll come back to fix it if I realize I need to while translating. Pretty sure I translated it correctly, but the author wrote the price wrong. Hey, race the original. Note, if you liked any of these chapters, leave a like if you can. It's motivating. Thanks to everyone who's read it this far. Look forward to more interesting developments. Chapter 9. The female servant seeks trouble. They rode their tailwind horses one through the entrance, and they didn't travel too far before arriving at the foot of the mountain range. The mountain range was covered in dense trees spreading across the area, and there were even circles of thorn bushes before them. They could only abandon their horses and enter. The tailwind horses could only come here. We need to continue by foot. Yi Qing Han dismounted the horses, moving elegantly. Lu Mu Yen nodded and also dismounted, then she heard Yi Qing Han blow a whistle. Following, the 7 tailwind horses vanished from their view. These tailwind horses are quite intelligent. Are they all your spirit pets? Lu Mu Yen didn't know a lot about the spirit beast masters of this continent. She once obtained a manual from the beast tamers sect. She wondered if it worked or not for this world's demonic beasts. Yi Qing Han smiled and explained, Tier 1 demonic beasts like the tailwind horses aren't valuable enough to become spirit pets. We, spirit beast masters, use the strength of our mental energy to determine the spirit pets we contract. So a spirit beast master at the spirit novice tier could only contract 1 spirit pet, so on and so forth. But one could only contract a maximum of 10 spirit pets, so spirit beast masters want randomly contract a demonic beast to avoid wasting the quota. That is to say, spirit beast master clans like yours have other ways of taming tier 1 demonic beasts like the tailwind horse without a contract. After hearing Yi Qing Han's explanation, Lu Mu Yen had a general idea. Indeed. Yi Qing Han's eyes revealed some admiration towards her. Whoever said Lu Mu Yen was a good-for-nothing really were blind. Making 1 point was enough for her to understand the rest, and she was also smart and charming. Such a woman was very attractive. Are tailwind horses hard to train? Before Lu Mu Yen could fly on a sword, she wanted to obtain one for travel. Seeing Lu Mu Yan's bright eyes, Yi Qing Han also guessed a little bit of what she was thinking, so he promised with a smile, It's not difficult to train, but only spirit beast master clans have special training methods. If you like, I could gift you one. You can pick one out of any of the 7 horses just now. Sure. Then I want the one I rode earlier. Lu Mu Yen was very satisfied with how Yi Qing Han caught on. This man had a good temper. With a gentle smile on his lips, he said, No problems. Then he took out a whistle from his interspatial ring and handed it to her, saying, This is a whistle to control the tailwind horses, you can use this to control it. After that, he told Lu Mu Yen the control method. After Lu Mu Yen learnt it, she waved the whistle in her hand, smiled and said, Thanks. Seeing that their young lord and the imperial capital's infamous young Miss Trash were talking so harmoniously, the beautiful woman who followed behind them felt unpleasant. If it were any other person, perhaps she wouldn't feel this uncomfortable, but who was that trash Lu Mu Yen to be worthy to speak to a person like their young lord? Lu Mu Yan's mental energy was very strong, so she naturally discovered the dislike of the icy woman behind them. She curled her lips in ridicule. She really disliked women who pretended to be aloof and virtuous. Old Lu was rather polite to Lu Mu Yen all the way, and the reason he came this time was because he entered the periphery of the blazing mountain range 10 years ago, so he was familiar with this place. Young Miss Lu, let's leave after a break. Yi Qing Han said considerately with a smile as he saw Lu Mu Yan's face growing pale, and a layer of sweat was dripping from her forehead. Lu Mu Yen felt truly helpless about the condition of her body. She didn't have any spiritual energy within her, so she could only rely on an ice jade that Lu Mu Bai gave her before she left, to resist the heat. But it was truly overwhelming to travel in this high-temperature region. Yeah, sorry, I'm slowing down your pace. Lu Mu Yan's beautiful little face displayed an apologetic smile. She would try to adapt to this place. No worries. Yi Qing Han smiled and told the others to rest in place. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, the icy woman that came with them was called Yi Jing, a female servant to Yi Qing Han. Because she had good talent, she received training from the Yi clan and was currently a middle-phase great sword master. Knowing you would drag people down and yet you still came, who knows what you're really thinking, trash. Seeing that the young lord was so considerate of and amiable to Lu Mu Yen, a trash, Yi Jing couldn't help but ridicule. Back when she was in the immortal cultivation world, very few people dared to offend Lu Mu Yen, not to mention ridicule. Yet in this life, because she was a trash with terminal meridians too, she was being mocked and ridiculed everywhere she went. It really fitted that saying. A tiger leaves its forest, ends up in the plains, and gets bullied by a dog. Your master hasn't even said anything, what's a dog like you barking about? Lu Mu Yen never had a tolerant temperament. In her life, she had never offered her right cheek over to be slapped after her left cheek was. Lu Mu Yen could naturally see that Yi Qing Han and old Lu didn't actually like this female servant, and with her own identity and background, she wasn't afraid of offending a female servant of the Yi clan. Yi Jing's face darkened. She didn't expect that Lu Mu Yen, a trash, would say something like that to her, so she pulled out her sword and wanted to stab her. Stop it. Young Miss Lu is the physician I invited. Yi Jing, you are too presumptuous. Yi Qing Han looked at Yi Jing coldly. This female servant was becoming more and more impudent. In the clan, she exploited her status as his personal servant to bully others, and even secretly sought profit for her family using questionable means. He hadn't even settled those with her, and now she even blatantly ridiculed the person he invited directly in front of him. It seemed that his usual behavior was too kind. Was this egoistical servant going to take advantage of her master now? Jing doesn't dare. Yi Jing bit her lower lip and retracted her sword, but she didn't conceal her indignant look. After becoming the young lord's personal servant, she obviously would become his concubine in the future, so she naturally saw Yi Qing Han as hers. She definitely wouldn't allow a trash like Lu Mu Yen to get involved. There was a hidden coldness in Yi Qing Han's eyes. He originally wanted to leave Yi Jing to interfere with his second uncle's intel, but it appeared that he couldn't keep her any longer. Lu Mu Yen naturally caught the coldness in Yi Qing Han's eyes. She curled her lips into a smile. This servant sure felt too self-important. She didn't even realize at all that her master didn't have feelings for her, not to mention he even hated her. But Yi Qing Han sure was more than what he appeared. Let's go. Lu Mu Yen rested for a while and stood up while rubbing her slightly numb feet. She didn't want to drag down the progress of Yi Qing Han's group. When Yi Qing Han saw Lu Mu Yen endure her discomfort and continue with a firm heart, his impression of her improved another layer once more. This woman would definitely be extraordinary in the future. The deeper they walked, the fewer mercenaries or adventurous sword masters they met. Lu Mu Yen took out a book bought from the blue-clothed young boy, observed the map, and discovered that the path they took was indeed the same route as the one on the map. She took out the book on spiritual herbs and flipped through it. The book recorded that the flame fruit was only found in the border between the periphery and the outer ring. Her brows knitted subconsciously. The demonic beasts we're looking for are also at the borders, so we can help you find the flame fruit. Seeing Lu Mu Yen frown, expression serious, Yi Qing Han smiled and soothed her. Seeing Yi Qing Han's sincerity, Lu Mu Yen nodded. Okay. Hopefully we can all reap something from this trip. One instead of, the author changed it to. They basically mean similar things, so I'm leaving the translation. 2 for returning readers, I decided to give a name to Lu Mu Yan's constitution. In fact, it was given a name in the novel, except I didn't know how to translate it. In the novel it's, terminal meridian constitution is the translation now. And the person with that constitution was called, aka person with terminal meridians. Was what was difficult for me to translate, and I only thought of a good translation for it now. Well, good enough at least, I hope, huh? Sorry for any confusions. Chapter 10. Flame Fruit. The group of people didn't encounter any high-tier demonic beasts on their way while they avoided the low-tier demonic beasts with Yi Qinghan's warnings. Around half a day later, they arrived at the periphery area of the blazing mountain range. Before them, there was a dense forest, and after walking only for a short while, they heard the sounds of a battle. Yi Qinghan and his party immediately started being vigilant. "Young lord, should we go over?" Old Lu looked to the distance and asked Yi Qinghan cautiously. Yi Qinghan's eyes were deep and serene, mused for a bit, then said, "Go. Let's go and have a look." At the drop of his word, they immediately sped up towards the direction of the fight. Past the dense forest was a clearing, and there were currently 3 people surrounded by a group of Tier 2 and 3 fur crimson boar demonic beasts. On the ground there laid 2 bloodied people, weak with heavy injuries. "We trouble you to please save us. We promise a rich gift of gratitude." A burly man amongst the group yelled for help upon seeing Yi Qinghan and the others. Seeing this, Yi Qinghan turned to the 4 people on the side. "You guys go." "Yes, young lord." The 3 men and 1 woman flew directly towards the surrounded, drew their swords and fought with the fur crimson boars. Using only an incense stick of time one, they successfully rescued the men from more than 10 fur crimson boars. Throughout the battle, Lu Muyen leaned against a tree with folded arms. Right now, she couldn't participate in such battles at all. Even though the fighting spirit within her was aroused, she was still burdened by her terminal meridian's trash constitution, so she could only watch. She discovered that Yi Qinghan's subordinates had good combat power, probably because they often honed their fighting skills at close quarters. "Thank you for your help. I have 5 Tier 3 demonic beast cores here, which are the most expensive items on us." The big man took out 5 crystal cores from his pocket and handed it to Yi Qinghan to express his gratitude for saving their lives. Yi Qinghan didn't reach for the demonic beast cores and said instead, "No need, it was just on the way." It wasn't easy for these mercenaries to come to the blazing mountain range for their missions, and even if he took these Tier 3 demonic beast cores, it wasn't useful to him. "Then thank you very much. If in the future you require our help, please let us know. My name is Jiang Dong, and they are members of my small mercenary party." Jiang Dong placed the slightly bloodied crystal cores back into his pockets. He also knew that these people who wore expensive clothes wouldn't care for his crystal cores, but he was still very grateful to them for their life-saving grace. "Why were you guys being surrounded by fur crimson boars?" Based on what he knew, fur crimson boars moved in groups. These types of demonic beasts, too, usually wouldn't leave their territory easily. He was rather curious, how did this group of mercenaries offend this group of boars? Jiang Dong and the other 2 squatted and helped lift the 2 injured from the ground, fed them a medicinal pill, then raised their heads and explained, "We were chasing after a Tier 3 striped leopard and accidentally entered the edge of the outer ring, but we also discovered a flame fruit. Originally we wanted to pick it, yet who knew that a Tier 4 fur crimson boar king would be guarding it and commanded this group of Tier 2 and 3 fur crimson boars to besiege and kill us. Luckily we ran fast, then encountered Sir, otherwise we would have really died in the hands of these demonic beasts." Lu Muyan's eyes lit up. She sought for it fruitlessly until her iron shoes were broken, only to find it by chance without even looking. She hadn't even been in the blazing mountain range for long and she already received news of the flame fruit. "What you found was really the flame fruit?" "Yes, and based on its appearance, it should have just boar fruit. It still had a bit of green, and the fur crimson boar king should be waiting for it to mature, otherwise it would have already eaten it." Jiang Dong answered honestly with his guess. "Where is the location of that flame fruit you discovered?" Lu Muyen was delighted. As long as she could find the flame fruit, she could refine the marrow-cleansing pill and improve her terminal meridian constitution. "Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." "Thanks," Jiang Dong mused, then pointed to a direction in the southeast and said, "We discovered it there, it's about an hour away." "Young Lord Yi, I'm going to find that flame fruit, are you going to come with me or stay here to wait for me?" Lu Muyen suppressed the emotions in her eyes and smiled softly as she asked Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's eyes revealed slight surprise. Even if they already cleaned up this group of fur crimson boars, But with Lu Mu Yen as a low-level swordmaster, how could her abilities rival a Tier 4 Fur Crimson Boar King and compete for the flame fruit? But seeing that Lu Mu Yan's eyes were clear and without calculations, it appeared that regardless of whether they went with her or not, it wouldn't make a huge difference. Curiosity rose in his heart with the desire to know just how she'd deal with the Fur Crimson Boar King. "Well, go with you." Lu Mu Yen nodded. She didn't care if Yi Qing Han and his party followed or not. Although she was unable to confront Tier 4 demonic beasts directly, she had other life-saving trump cards, so she didn't need to fear the Fur Crimson Boar King at all. Otherwise, she wouldn't dare come to such a dangerous place like the Blazing Mountain Range to search for the flame fruit. Yi Jing sneered disdainfully. What did she mean by go together or stay here? She was probably thinking of grasping onto their young lord for help either way. She felt unpleasant again. Who knew what their young lord saw in her to actually acknowledge and admire this trash to the point of helping her obtain the flame fruit? She didn't want to tag along at all. If you don't want to follow, then don't. Lu Mu Yen naturally heard the sneer of the disgusting woman who despised and belittled her. Her cold gaze swept to Yi Jing, then turned to Jiang Dong and said, "Thank you," before rushing over to the direction he pointed. Yi Jing flushed red with anger. This trash dared to speak to her like this. But when she was about to start cursing, Yi Qing Han cast a cold glance at her, filled with warning, so she just stomped her foot, unwilling. She cursed Lu Mu Yen inwardly and decided that she'd definitely teach the trash a lesson in the future. Yi Qing Han looked at the beautiful silhouette in front of him, and interest rose in his eyes. His lips curled up and he quickly followed. After traveling for around an hour, Lu Mu Yen felt wave after wave of heat coming from ahead that spread to her surroundings. A hint of joy rose in her crystal-clear eyes. The flame fruit. This was the heat emitted by the flame fruit. She quickened her pace, and in a few moments, she saw a jewel-like crystal-clear red plant growing beside a gray boulder. Hanging from it were 3 delicate red fruits. Maybe it was because of Jiang Dong's unintentional arrival, the Fur Crimson Boar King was now alert. It was lying lazily on the boulder for a rest, but he always kept his attention on the bright red plant. "You guys wait here for me," Lu Mu Yen whispered to Yi Qing Han and his group after she assessed the Fur Crimson Boar King's strength. Yi Qing Han raised his eyebrows and frowned slightly, with a look of disapproval in his eyes. He whispered, "Don't belittle this Tier 4 Fur Crimson Boar. Its defense and attack are both very strong. You're not its opponent. Relax, I know I can handle it." Lu Mu Yen waved her hand. Even though she didn't have the confidence to kill this Boar King, she at least had enough confidence to obtain the flame plant. Yi Qing Han saw that Lu Mu Yen emitted a light of confidence and wasn't joking around, so he nodded and said, "Be careful. If there's any danger, they'll take action." "Sure. Then I'm going." Approximately half an hour 2 author wrote, which is used sometimes translated interchangeably or translated into magical beasts. But she always wrote before, so it's probably a typo. 3 She searched for it so hard before, only to find it so easily now. Chapter 11. Successfully obtained. After Lu Mu Yen finished speaking to Yi Qing Han, she used her flash steps and headed directly towards the Fur Crimson Boar King. Flash Step was a manual that she obtained back in the Immortal cultivation world. After successfully learning its entirety, one's figure would be as ethereal and invisible as the wind, as well as being extremely flexible and changeable. The speed was extremely fast, and whether it was escaping or changing positions during battle, it was definitely one of the best means to save one's life. Meanwhile, the Fur Crimson Boar King that was lying on the huge gray boulder also discovered the purple shadow that was rapidly drifting over. Its eyes grew bloodshot, and it puffed 2 streams of hot air through its nose. It immediately stood up, its hind legs kicked the huge rock behind him, then it shot itself out like a missile, heading straight towards Lu Mu Yen. Right when the Fur Crimson Boar King was near her, slyness flashed in Lu Mu Yen's eyes. She reached out her left hand, swung it, and a ball of paper immediately hit the Fur Crimson Boar King's nose. The paper scattered and a bit of white power spread through the wind, entering the boar's nostrils. The Fur Crimson Boar King suddenly froze as if having a stroke and collapsed to the ground. Lu Muyan's lips rose in a smirk and utilized flash step to its limit. She swiftly arrived by the large gray boulder and without hesitation, she uprooted the flame plant and placed it directly into her interspatial ring. Meanwhile, the fact that she only took a few breaths of time to obtain the flame plant stunned Yiqing Han and his party who remained not far away. What sort of footwork was this? How could one's speed be so fast that their figure appeared like a ghostly silhouette? And what was that white powder? It could actually make a Tier 4 Fur Crimson Boar King collapse to the ground. It sure enlightened them. They stared at the paper that the white powder was originally wrapped within, their eyes filled with shock, but also glistened with ideas. Although the Fur Crimson Boar King fell to the ground due to Lu Muyan's powder, but its eyes were fixed on the purple figure. Seeing that the flame fruit that it guarded for so many years was lost to the hands of a damn human, its eyes were filled with fury, and it kept roaring. The effect of the powder didn't last long, so the moment Lu Muyan retrieved the flame plant, the moment the Fur Crimson Boar King could move, it immediately stood up, charged at Lu Muyan furiously with its eyes as wide as copper bells, and its entire body filled with rage as if it could only be vented after tearing her to pieces. Lu Muyan turned around and her gaze chilled. She could actually use mental energy to directly attack the Fur Crimson Boar King's brain and let it collapse, but she didn't want to expose all her trump cards in front of Yiqing Han and his party. So she could only use Flash Step to its maximum to dodge the Fur Crimson Boar King's attacks. Lu Muyan avoiding every attack from the Fur Crimson Boar King truly infuriated it. This damned human was so cunning. It must tear her into pieces. Although Lu Muyan could easily avoid the Fur Crimson Boar King's attack using her Flash Step, but this boar's power was essentially a Tier 4 demonic beast equivalent to a sword spirit stage expert. And her physical strength, due to her terminal meridian's constitution that couldn't absorb any spiritual force, could hardly compare to a sword master. Soon, her forehead covered in a thin layer of sweat. She harumphed coldly, then fled directly into the dense woods. Even if she couldn't kill it, it was still easy to escape. Yiqing Han naturally understood that Lu Muyan's physical strength was almost overdrawn, so seeing that she was escaping, he couldn't resist, tapped his foot, and flew out. He drew out his prized sword and swung at the Fur Crimson Boar King with a sword attack that was filled with elemental energy. One could only see a flash of golden light from the sword that formed an arc in the air and instantly entered the Fur Crimson Boar King's body. Pang! The Fur Crimson Boar King was blasted more than 10 meters away after being hit directly by Yiqing Han's sword aura. Following, blood dripped from its nostrils and eyes, and after twitching a few times on the ground, it perished. Lu Muyan stopped, turned around and returned to Yiqing Han's side, saying, "Thank you." Although she could escape, or even kill the Fur Crimson Boar King with her mental energy without Yiqing Han's help, but since Yiqing Han did intervene, it saved her a lot of effort and she also didn't need to expose her trump cards. She had a good impression of this man. You can still get rid of it even if I didn't interfere. Yiqing Han's handsome face revealed a small smile. Along the way here, Lu Muyan constantly surprised him, so he also believed that she still had more abilities yet to reveal. You saved me quite some effort by intervening. Lu Muyan shrugged and her lips curled up. You're quite strong. Although this Fur Crimson Boar King was of the same stage as me, but it only just became a Tier 4 demonic beast not long ago, so my attack could easily kill it. Yiqing Han explained modestly. Lu Muyan nodded and smiled. The strength of a peak phase sword spirit. Even amongst same-stage peers, you must be a tough opponent. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Yiqing Han wasn't just at the sword spirit stage, but he was also a spirit beast master. Seeing that he was wearing a spirit pet bangle, she believed that there must be a spirit pet inside. And as a disciple raised and trained by a large clan, who didn't have their own trump cards, she was certain that even if the Fur Crimson Boar King was at peak phase Tier 4 strength, it still wouldn't be Yiqing Han's opponent. Yiqing Han smiled softly in tacit recognition of her words, gave a look to one of his subordinates. The subordinate understood to open up the Fur Crimson Boar King, retrieve its crystal core and hand it to Yiqing Han to put in his interspatial ring. Interspatial rings were scarce in Yanzhou country, and only people with a certain identity, status and power could own and use one. The interspatial ring worn by Lu Muyen was a gift from her grandfather for her 15th birthday. Low-level sword masters without any background, such as mercenaries like Jiang Dong, could never afford interspatial rings. They would all buy a special type of inexpensive interspatial bag. It was fairly easy to carry around, but only had 1 cubic meter of space and wasn't bound to anyone. Whoever obtained it could easily open it and use it, and their toughness couldn't compare to interspatial rings. Young Lord Yi, are we going to capture some fire-type demonic beasts now? Lu Muyen already achieved her goal, so she was in a rather good mood and asked, "Do you have a goal? Are we considered friends now after traveling together?" Yi Qinghan avoided her question, lifted his eyes to look at Lu Muyen and asked. Lu Muyen was stunned for a moment, then a lovely smile appeared on her beautiful little face. "Of course. Then let's not be so distant, you can just call me Qinghan or Brother Yi from now on." Yi Qinghan's gaze was gentle with a smile on his face. "Then Qinghan, you can just call me by my name or Muyen." Lu Muyen nodded without any pretense. There was a layer of faint anger in Yi Jing's eyes. Wasn't their young lord being too nice to this trash? Even if this trash did look pretty good, but she still couldn't match a person as glorious as their young lord. Then she narrowed her eyes, and a vicious thought crossed her mind. She must get rid of Lu Muyen in the blazing mountain range and mustn't let their young lord develop any feelings for her, otherwise with that trash's identity, if she married their young lord, she'd be his official wife. By then, Lu Muyen would be suppressing her. Lu Muyen's mental energy was very strong, so she wouldn't be noticed even if she used it. She caught onto the flash of viciousness in Yi Jing's eyes. She sneered within. If this stupid woman took the initiative to come at her, then she'd let her know how to write the word regret. "Muyen, the goal of our trip is the peak phase Tier 4 demonic beast, the flame unicorn beast, that resides in the outer ring of the blazing mountain range." Yi Qinghan didn't conceal it and continued. "The flame unicorn beast is unique and very talented, so you can't compare its power to the fur crimson boar kings. At Tier 4, its combat powers comparable to a Tier 5. We've already discovered where its lair is, so when we arrive, you must be careful." "Sure, then let's go." Lu Muyen nodded in response. She had seen the introduction of the flame unicorn beast in the Demonic Beast Records book in the Imperial Academy, so she had a general idea. Afterwards, they headed towards the outer ring of the blazing mountain range. Because Yi Qinghan had the precise location of the flame unicorn beast's lair, they avoided a lot of detours and arrived in the neighborhood of its lair early the next morning. Note, man, I really don't want to write Fur Crimson Boar King again. I wrote it so many times, haha. Note. Alright, back to normal updates, one a day at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, as long as the automatic publishing system works. But it'll be the 2-week school holidays, a teacher here, after this week, and I don't have major tasks to complete over the holidays as of now, so it'll probably update more frequently. Look forward to that. Chapter 12. Battle against the Flame Unicorn Beast. The Flame Unicorn Beast's lair was hidden within an extinct volcano. A small and remote path led towards it. The volcano was surrounded by a wasteland and there wasn't a single living organism around. This also proved that the Flame Unicorn Beast was the king of this area and other demonic beasts didn't dare break into its territory. Yi Qinghan's face revealed a rare look of caution and gravity, then turned to the people and commanded, "When old Lu and I deal with the beast, you 3 support us from the side. If any of you are wounded, go to Lu Muyen for treatment." "Yes, young lord." "Yes. Right, Muyen, do you still have the powder you used against the Fur Crimson Boar King?" Yi Qinghan asked Lu Muyen expectantly. Lu Muyen took out a small paper pack and handed it over. "This drug can freeze Tier 4 demonic beasts for around the time for 8 or 9 breaths. But against a demonic beast with Tier 5 strength, it probably could only last 3 breaths. Know what you're doing. 3 breaths is good." Yi Qinghan took the small paper pack with a soft smile. This powdered drug was very useful. Then he waved his hand and led them into the cave cautiously. The walls around the cave and the path they took were all dark red, and waves of heat rushed towards them from all around. Everyone used their elemental energy to create a barrier and protect their body, guarding them from the invasion of heat. However, Lu Muyen could only walk arduously through the passage herself, her small face glowing red, and her clothes soaked in sweat. But she didn't make a sound, following the rest closely. Yi Qinghan glanced back at Lu Muyen, who hung at the end of the party. Without elemental energy to isolate the heat wave, using only the body of a normal human, she could actually clench her teeth and persevere? The toughness of this woman surprised him greatly. A quarter of an hour later, they finally arrived at a narrow, deep, dark red path. Entering their eyes was a large, open space, and at the center of the open space laid a deep crimson demonic beast that was at least 1 meter tall and 3 meters long. Its body was covered in red scales, and there was a thick, sharp horn protruding from its head. With only one look, it was clear that it had extremely high defense. The flame unicorn beast noticed them the moment they stepped into its cave. It opened its eyes, and the pair of eyes as large as copper bells revealed a look of disdain. Only when demonic beasts reached Tier 4 could they gain intelligence, but this demonic beast belonged to a superior species, therefore they obtained intelligence from the moment they could cultivate. Naturally, they could perceive the strength of the incoming people. The flame unicorn beast found that 2 of the humans were of the same tier as him, but its combat power was comparable to the Sword King stage cultivator, and the rest were like ants, so it belittled these humans that dared to break into his territory. Roar! The flame unicorn beast stood up lazily and pressured them with its roars. Aside from Yi Qinghan, Old Lu, and Lu Muyen, the other 3 covered their ears in agony. Lu Muyen was fine because her mental energy was strong, so this sort of sound couldn't affect her, while Yi Qinghan and Old Lu relied on their pure strength. Go! Yi Qinghan gave Old Lu a look, and the 2 of them leapt over and landed on the open space. The flame unicorn beast sprayed 2 streams of hot air from its nose, a sign of its growing fury. It must tear these arrogant humans, who dared to disturb its sleep, into pieces. Yi Qinghan also noticed that the pressure from the flame unicorn beast continued to increase. With a thought, a little bit of mental energy slithered into the spirit pet bangle around his wrist. Roar! A roar with the same pressure echoed in the cave. At the drop of the roar, a pure white tiger appeared on the open space, its entire body exuding the pressure of a peak phase Tier 4 demonic beast. The one character on its forehead even contained a trace of a mysterious, fluctuating elemental energy. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Lu Muyen stared at the mighty white tiger with slight surprise. A mutated snow tiger king. Yi Qinghan's spirit pet wasn't inferior to the flame unicorn beast species by much. The environment here was more favorable for the flame unicorn beast, but being surrounded by 2 people and 1 beast, there wasn't any suspense to the battle. The flame unicorn beast would lose as long as no accidents occurred. Roar, roar! Roar! When the 2 powerful demonic beasts met, neither wanted to be suppressed by the other, so they roared and pounced at each other. Yi Qinghan also wanted to observe his spirit pet's prowess, so he didn't do anything for the time being. With the most primitive violence, the 2 demonic beasts attacked and tore away at each other, though the flame unicorn beast clearly had the advantage. Its defense was much stronger than the Snow Tiger King, plus it could utilize the energy from the volcano, so it quickly overwhelmed the Snow Tiger King and bit down on its neck. Yi Qinghan frowned. This Snow Tiger King was subdued by him when it was still a cub, so its barbarity lacked a little compared to the flame unicorn beast. Not to mention it lacked experience in fighting, so it was being suppressed. With his own spirit pet's neck firmly bitten by the flame unicorn beast, blood spurted from the area and dyed its white coat crimson. Yi Qinghan's eyes grew cold, drew his sword and wielded it against the flame unicorn beast. A sword aura with powerful elemental energy fell directly on the flame unicorn beast, but didn't penetrate its body, only leaving a small wound where a few red scales fell. Meanwhile, Lu Muyen quickly headed towards the Snow Tiger King, took out a porcelain bottle, and poured the green liquid with the fragrance of medicine onto its wound. The injury immediately stopped bleeding. Roar! The flame unicorn beast felt pain on its back, turned around in fury and leapt at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up, avoided the attack from the flame unicorn beast, while a small paper pack accurately fell on the flame unicorn beast's nose. The white powder instantly spread and entered its nostrils. The flame unicorn beast fell onto the ground, frozen in its state of attack, and Yi Qinghan shouted, "Break!" At that moment, a golden sword aura burst from the prized sword he held and slashed fiercely down on the flame unicorn's body. Old Lu took the opportunity to pierce through the area between its limb and the body, where its defense was the weakest. The eyes of the flame unicorn beast were bloodshot and it could only feel the pain of its scales torn from numerous parts of its body. But then it felt that it could finally move. It stood up furiously and roared again, and the roars encompassed its entire elemental energy. Roar! Not good. Lu Mu Yen felt the entire cave tremble at the roar of the flame unicorn beast and stones fell. It was about to collapse. Get out quickly! Yi Qinghan yelled at Lu Mu Yen and 3 of his subordinates, then flashed beside the flame unicorn beast with old Lu, utilizing his sword skill with the intention of severely wounding it. What the Snow Tiger King lacked was only experience, so even though its defense wasn't as strong as the flame unicorn beast, the latter's bite still wouldn't have been able to break its neck. Although injured somewhat, with Lu Mu Yan's medicine, the pain faded as well. It glared and kicked its hind legs, pouncing at the flame unicorn beast. Roar, roar! Together with the roar of the flame unicorn beast, the entire cave trembled even more severely. Lu Mu Yen ran towards the exit of the cave, but only after a bit more than 10 steps, the ground cracked open into numerous fissures and from within rose an inexplicable gravitational force, sucking her in. She didn't even have the time to use her flash step, and her body fell towards the bottomless crack with the gravitational force. She could only feel the pressure of the roar that lingered by her ear, then her vision blacked out and she felt herself slowly losing consciousness. Before falling unconscious, she rolled her eyes inwardly. This damned body was just too weak. One often seen on the head of mythical tigers or tigers in general, same word as king. Chapter 13. The devilishly handsome man Lu Mu Yen continued to fall, but soon she felt a gentle force supporting her body. Her mind was also invaded by that same force, but it wasn't aggressive and only helped her wake up immediately. She landed on the ground supported by that power, and when she opened her eyes she met a pair of eyes that were as deep and dark as ink. Currently, there was a young man standing on a large rock opposite her. He was dressed in enchanting red robes with black hair lightly lifted by the wind, had a tall, sturdy figure, straight nose, naturally thin red lips, and a flawless face that appeared to be meticulously sculpted and polished. He was immaculately handsome. The man exuded a naturally noble temperament, and he inadvertently revealed a fierce, domineering countenance, as if an almighty sovereign that was looking down upon all living beings. Right now, the devilishly handsome man looked at her calmly. Lu Mu Yen knew that this man saved her, otherwise she would have been handicapped after a fall from such a height if she didn't die. Thank you very much. Lu Mu Yen looked at the man with gratitude, promising, "Your life-saving grace will definitely be repaid in the future." Stupid woman. The man curled his lips and smiled devilishly. He suddenly moved his gaze away from her and looked in another direction, his eyebrows furrowing lightly. Then he turned and dashed that way, vanishing into thin air. Lu Mu Yen was stunned. That devilish man actually said she was a stupid woman. Feeling a strong wave of elemental energy in that direction, she looked at the place curiously, mused a little, then followed. The man's speed was extremely fast. She needed to use her flash step to be able to prevent herself from falling behind too much. After around a quarter of an hour, the man entered a large cave that appeared in front of them, and she followed without hesitation. You lowly humans, you dared to set foot in this king's territory, you are truly courting death. The moment she entered the cave, a strong, pressuring voice resounded. If it weren't that she used her mental energy to shield her sea of consciousness, it would have been shattered by the pressure. She looked up and discovered a huge flame unicorn beast lying in the cave that was at least 5 or 6 times larger than the previous. Its dark red scaled armor was faintly exuding a cold light. At Tier 6, a demonic beast could utter the human language, but based on the opponent's aura, Lu Mu Yen could determine that it wasn't only at Tier 6, but at the peak phase of Tier 6, and its strength was equivalent to an initial phase Tier 7. Lu Mu Yen stood at the entrance of the cave, and after hearing the arrogant words of the man that referred to himself as this highness, her curiosity grew even more. As far as she knew, the flame unicorn beast was a superior demonic beast with fire attribute energy condensed within its fur and skin that acted as armor. Its defense was abnormally strong amongst demonic beasts, but of course, its scaled armor and bones were also excellent material for refining weapons. Its blood essence also contained strong fire attribute energy, which was exceptionally useful to sword masters that practiced manuals with the fire attribute, and it was even more effective when used to refine pills. The most important part was that the flame unicorn beast's combat power was extremely strong, and practically every single one of them could fight someone at a higher level than them, such as this peak phase Tier 6 flame unicorn beast before her. It could probably even match an initial stage sword sovereign. She sensed a powerful force from the man, and based on the fluctuations from his energy, she felt the man was at least middle phase sword monarch. Still, his strength compared to the demonic beast was a little weaker. So what gave him this confidence and arrogance? Aside from domineering, confident and proud as her first impressions of the man, she also felt little bit of modesty, reticence, and reservedness that was carved into his bones, not at all like the temperament of an ordinary cultivator. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks the fact that he had confidence in killing the peak phase Tier 6 flame unicorn beast must mean he had his trump cards. The flame unicorn beast was furious. This damned, lowly human not only invaded its territory, but he also wanted its crystal core. He was truly too arrogant and bold. Lowly human, this king must tear you apart today. For nearly 1,000 years, no human nor demonic beast dared insult it like this. The crystal core was its lifeblood. Upon the fall of the flame unicorn beast's words, Lu Mu Yen felt its pressure grow exponentially. Its eyes turned red, and from its nostrils, it snorted 2 streams of flames. With a kick, it pounced towards the devilish man. The devilish man sneered, stretched out his arm, and a long crimson-red sword appeared in his hand. He waved it casually, and a violent sword aura whirled in the air. It landed directly on the flame unicorn beast that was in midair. Pang! Although the scaled armor on the flame unicorn beast wasn't harmed, its entire gigantic body was blasted by the sword aura and crashed into a rock on the opposite side. The flame unicorn beast had never been treated like this before. It turned over, its eyes bloodshot and filled with burning flames of anger, then took a deep breath. A pillar of fire sprouted from the flame unicorn beast's mouth, and that pillar of fire carried enough power that felt as if it could destroy the heaven and earth. It was one of the relatively strong abilities the flame unicorn beast possessed. A touch of ridicule flashed across his lips. His red clothes fluttered, and he swiftly performed a hand seal with one hand in midair. Amazingly, a pure blue crystal column appeared beneath his feet. Utilizing his elemental energy, with a flick of his finger, that crystal pillar automatically shot itself out from the ground and slammed into the fire pillar. Poochie! The moment the blue crystal pillar met with the fire pillar, it instantly turned into countless ice-cold water droplets, extinguished the fire pillar, and pierced the body of the flame unicorn beast. Lu Mu Yan's eyes revealed a sliver of surprise. This devilish man couldn't only use skills with fire attributes but also skills with water attributes that were so strong he could condense it into ice. He was very strong. This world was different to the immortal cultivation world in terms of elements. In the immortal cultivation world, those with only one spiritual root were considered the most talented, but here, sword masters didn't have spiritual roots, and instead relied on their own comprehension of the elemental laws between heaven and earth to cultivate. The more elemental laws one comprehended, the stronger their talent, but the difficulty of comprehending one after the other was like the distance between heaven and earth. Many sword masters could never comprehend a second element in their entire lives. Lu Mu Yen was different to others, however. She owned the wise heavenly spiritual root that had no attributes, therefore she had a high level of comprehension and was extremely talented. As long as she could eradicate her terminal meridian's constitution, then she could comprehend the laws of all the elements between heaven and earth. But the devilish man already used skills of two types of elemental attributes. Who knew if he secretly owned a third attribute? With his age, he was definitely a prodigy amongst prodigies. It seemed that not only was his appearance devilishly captivating, but his talents were also devilishly powerful one. Roar! There were only wisps of white smoke where the pillar of fire and the pillar of water met. After a few droplets of blue ice water penetrated the flame unicorn beast's body, it swiftly froze its 8 extraordinary meridians, causing it to roar in agony. Pieces of red rocks were shaken down by the flame unicorn beast's roar, but it continued to raise its head again and roar, glaring at the powerful, red-robed man that it previously belittled. Human, your strength is indeed not bad, but if you think your level of cultivation is enough to kill this king, then you would be too naive. The flame unicorn beast was completely enraged. It shook its red scales that shone with a cold light, and with the natural arrogance of a superior species of demonic beast, it looked down at the man in front of it. You should be honored to let this king use the innate talent of my species to kill you. One wordplay on, they devil/monster/evil spirit etc. Which is often used colloquially in China to describe specific types of handsome men, mostly very sexy men, like how in English there's the phrase devilishly handsome. It's also used as a term to describe people so talented and prodigious that it's not natural nor human, but instead, like a monster of sorts, or devil in this case. So it's describing that both his looks and talents aren't at a normal human, in this case, cultivator, level ha. Chapter 14. Formidable combat power. The flame unicorn beast roared angrily, then the scales on its entire body suddenly unfolded and clusters of golden crimson flames emerged from the gaps of its scales. The temperature within the entire cave suddenly rose, and dancing flames emerged from the crevices in the walls and cracks on the floor, blazing hot, and the lava river that formed from it continued to extend and boiled. Lu Mu Yen was using her mental energy to endure the pressure from the man and the beast in order to watch the show, but the shocking change immediately made it unbearable for her body. A hot tingling sensation rose from her feet and spread throughout her body. But she couldn't use her elemental energy to resist this sort of monstrous heat, so she could only clench her teeth, bear it, and not let out a cry of pain. The entrance to the cave was already sealed by the rocks that fell from the roar of the flame unicorn beast, so she couldn't leave at all. But if she continued like this, her body definitely wouldn't be able to withstand this blazing flame that contained demonic energy. How could she save herself? She glanced at the relaxed-looking man, then clenched her teeth again. Oh well, she'll have to expose it. She shut her eyes, then released the mental energy from her sea of consciousness slowly, forming a barrier. The demonic flame was isolated outside by the mental energy barrier, and even though the tingling sensation still remained, she wouldn't be melted by the demonic flame at least. But as time went on, her physical strength also reached its limit. Without the support of her physical strength, she felt a little drowsy, and her mental energy was slowly unable to flow out. Just when a crack formed on the mental energy barrier, the red-clothed man before her turned his head as if sensing her troubles. A faint admiration flashed in his eyes. She only had the strength of a sword apprentice with a trash-type body and had no elemental energy, yet she could hold her own amongst a battle between two sword monarchs. It was a miracle. What surprised him the most was that this little woman could actually condense her mental energy into a substance that could withstand the demonic flames, not to mention endure blazes that would even destroy a sword king. It truly was admirable. With a wave of his hand, a blue beam of light instantly covered Lu Mu Yen, and a fluorescent, crystal-clear ice blue bangle appeared on her wrist. A chill swept from head to toe, and that hot, tingling sensation also disappeared. She removed her condensed mental energy barrier and looked quizzically at the man who had returned to fight with the flame unicorn beast. Why did he help her? Including this time, she owed him 2 favors. Go die. The flame unicorn beast let out a huge roar and a golden-red fire arc exploded within the cave. All the energy gathered towards and enveloped the man. Boom, boom, boom. The energy of the explosion was simply too strong. The cave couldn't support such destructive energy and instantly crumbled as countless rocks fell amongst the dust and firelight. Suddenly, Lu Muyen, who was engulfed by a violent energy, fell into a warm embrace. The deity-like man, with the elemental energy within him surging, narrowed his eyes. The scarlet longsword in his hands instantly vanished and he drew the golden soft sword around his waist. He channeled his elemental energy into it, then exerted his entire strength and slashed down. A beam of golden light cut towards the fiery flame that consisted of demonic energy. As they clashed, a blinding light beamed from within the cave, and the ceiling was directly penetrated. The excess pressure from the collision between the 2 types of energy blasted a hole on the top of the cave and shot directly into the sky. The flames immediately filled the entire sky above the outer ring and numerous demonic beasts scattered in panic. That earth-shattering energy exploded in the sky, causing numerous mercenaries and sword masters within the periphery of the blazing mountain ranges to stop in their steps. They felt a lingering fear, looking up at the flame pillar, glowing with a golden light that shot up into the heavens. They could still feel its terrifying energy fluctuations even from so far away. Not daring to continue in the direction of the source of energy, many people in the blazing mountain range turned back around and fled to the exit, fearing that they would be accidentally affected by the battle of experts if they weren't careful. However, the battle didn't end there. A cluster of golden runes appeared on the man's forehead. With a thought, the soft sword in his hand instantly divided into numerous small swords that encircled the flame unicorn beast. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, kill. The man opened his thin lips and said coldly, Shoo shoo. The small golden swords madly pierced the flame unicorn beast's entire body as if alive. Roar, roar. The explosion of the flame unicorn beast's strongest innate talent was countered by the man and guided out of the cave, while its scales were enveloped in numerous streams of golden light. They slowly cracked and blood dyed its entire body. It collapsed to the ground, roaring in agony as its eyes revealed a hint of madness. Even if it died, I'll take the terrifying man with him. Waves upon waves of demonic energy poured into its crystal core. It wanted to fight till its death. The man placed Lu Muyen onto the ground, then said coldly, Humph, you want to self-destruct? In your dreams. Following, he drew a void talisman in the air with his elemental energy. He mumbled something, then the talisman automatically flew towards the flame unicorn beast and landed on its head, slowly growing larger. Then, with the disbelief of the flame unicorn beast, it transformed into a stream of golden light and entered its forehead. Roar, roar. The flame unicorn beast roared, unreconciled. He was about to explode its crystal core, but the man's talisman actually sealed the demonic energy within it. Impossible, impossible. This man only had the strength of a human middle-phase sword monarch, so how could he be this powerful? Die. The man stretched out 2 fingers, tapped lightly, and the countless small golden swords that destroyed the flame unicorn beast's defense combined into a golden short sword. On its surface, there was even a mysterious rune circulating it. Shoo! The golden short sword hovered, flashed a few times, then penetrated the flame unicorn beast's head. The earth-shattering roar of the demonic beast stopped abruptly. The flame unicorn beast's bloodshot eyes stared wide, carrying a sense of disbelief and horror, before it collapsed and took its last breath. Lu Muyen was also shocked upon witnessing this scene. She didn't think that the red-clothed devilish man's combat power was this strong. He killed a superior demonic beast that was close to peak phase tier 6 without even using his trump cards. His talent was even more abnormal. Since the beginning of the battle, he actually used skills of 3 types of attributes, fire, ice, and metal, and he already reached an extraordinary level in his ease of switching between the fire and ice attributes. Not only did he completely comprehend the two contradictory attributes, but he could also interchange between the elements when battling. This simply wasn't something an ordinary person could do. Lu Muyen had to admit that a man who could utilize those elements so skillfully must be a peerless genius only seen once in 10,000 years. He could even compare to herself. Who was this man? He definitely didn't belong to Yanzhou country. Even after killing the demonic beast with peak phase tier 6 strength, he was still calm and composed, without any signs of exhaustion, as if this was only a trivial matter. With a wave of his hand, the golden short sword returned to his hand, then transformed into a golden soft sword and obediently returned to the sash around his waist. There was indifference in his beautiful phoenix-type eyes as he walked beside the corpse of the flame unicorn beast. With a casual grab, a small crimson crystal core the size of a fist, exuding a faint golden light, landed in his hands. Then he lifted his eyes slightly and looked at Lu Muyen, hesitated, then said, "This highness is going to refine this crystal core. Do as you wish." He ignored Lu Muyen after that, then crossed his legs, closed his eyes and began to refine the crimson crystal core of the flame unicorn beast. Lu Muyen opened her mouth slightly, wanting to remind the man that directly refining a crystal core was not only dangerous, but it could even cause his body to accumulate fire poison. However, seeing that the man already began to refine it without any hesitation, and assuming that he probably had his own solution to it, she swallowed what she wanted to say. She was also extremely exhausted, so she sat on a rock nearby the man, closed her eyes and rested. Chapter 15. Refining a pill. Half a day later, Lu Muyen opened her eyes. Her body had recovered almost entirely now. She stretched her numb neck, then looked at the man not far away. She discovered that his eyebrows were deeply furrowed, his face flushed crimson, and the red crystal core in his hand had already turned a grayish white. He was forcibly refining the flame unicorn beast's core, and it appeared that he was experiencing the violent energy of the crystal core invading his meridians. Lu Muyen frowned slightly. She walked closer to the man and stared at his wrist. It was indeed a light purple. The man's current condition wasn't optimistic. The peak phase tier 6 demonic beast core was at a higher phase than this man's abilities. Not only was the energy that the core emitted uncontrollable when absorbed, raged and scattered in his body, but he must also endure the agony of bursting blood vessels. According to her observation, the blue-purple color of his veins was already very deep, which indicated that this wasn't the first time the man directly absorbed the energy from a crystal core. A large amount of fire poison had already accumulated in his body, and if he didn't remove it, it could be detrimental to his future cultivation. Based on the devilish man's temperament and strength, it shouldn't be a difficult task to ask an alchemist to synthesize the crystal core's energy by adding specific spiritual herbs. Yet he chose to directly refine and absorb the crystal core, so it probably related to his cultivation methods. Seeing that the man's red face was even more flushed, a layer of sweat dripped down his nose, and his brows were furrowed tightly, it appeared he was enduring extreme pain despite his calm exterior. She sighed. This devilish man saved her twice despite being complete strangers. Such kindness was rare. She should help him. Having decided that, Lu Muyen walked beside a rock, and took out a cauldron and a pile of spiritual herbs to prepare to refine pills. The blazing mountain range was already a scorching hot place, so the temperature within this hole within a cave was more than 10 times higher. Even now she was still relying on the ice jade from her brother and the ice bangle on her wrist to withstand the heat. So if she refined pills in this place, she could probably even obtain double the results with half the effort. She initially wanted to return to the imperial capital to buy a better cauldron to refine pills, but because of the needs of this devilish man and since the underground flames in this place were ideal, she decided to refine her own marrow cleansing pill as well. After her preparations, she calmed her heart and emptied her mind. She would first use the geothermal heat here to refine the spirit cleansing pill to detoxify the fire poison that the man accumulated from absorbing the crystal core. As she had no spiritual energy, and her cultivation base also hadn't reached the core formation stage, Lu Mu Yen couldn't use the pill flame to refine pills. Fortunately, she specifically bought the charcoal used for refining pills before she set off on her journey. She hadn't refined a pill for a long time, not to mention her body was weak, so she decided not to refine the spirit cleansing pill in one go. Instead, she isolated a few low-grade spiritual herbs and began to refine the grade 1 spiritual energy replenishing pill for practice. All sword cultivators in this world absorbed the spiritual force of heaven and earth, which was converted into elemental energy within them, so the spiritual energy replenishing pill could also replenish elemental energy. In reality, spiritual energy and elemental energy were very similar to each other, but the spiritual energy she converted from the spiritual force was more refined and purer than the elemental energy of this world. Pew, pew. Lu Mu Yen furrowed her brows and sighed. She failed again. She was accustomed to using spiritual energy to envelop the spiritual herbs while refining, so now that she was only relying on mental energy to control it, she was rather unaccustomed to it and found it difficult. But she was the type to fight harder the more she stumbled. After wiping the sweat from her forehead, she started again. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. A day later, in Lu Mu Yan's hands were 5 smooth, round white pills. She put them in a white porcelain bottle, closed her eyes to rest for 2 hours, and when she recovered enough, she began to refine the spirit cleansing pill. She threw the spiritual herbs that were easy to refine into the cauldron first, observed the flame and temperature with her mental energy, and controlled the flame by adding more charcoal. After the spiritual herbs were refined into powder, she wrapped it in her mental energy, then began to refine the next spiritual herb. If it were back during those times in the immortal cultivation world, she would have been able to refine the spirit cleansing pill with peak quality with her eyes closed, and with all the ingredients tossed in at the same time. She concentrated on refining each individual spiritual herb separately, and half a day later, a soothing aroma seeped out the cauldron. Delighted, Lu Mu Yen slapped the cauldron, and 5 smooth, lustrous white pills flew out. She quickly placed them into a porcelain bottle. Then, feeling the weariness catch up to her, she fell on her bottom and panted as sweat covered her forehead. After feeling more comfortable, she stood up and walked over to the devilish man's side. But the moment she squatted and neared, even before touching the man, he opened his eyes. A trace of scarlet flashed in his black eyes that glistened like the stars in the sky, emphasizing his devilish charm. Lu Mu Yen stared at the man as if she would be sucked into those eyes that were as deep as a well. Their breaths were entangled with each other's, and Lu Mu Yen froze. Realizing their distance, she shifted away slightly. From the white porcelain bottle, she tipped out 1 spirit cleansing pill and placed it near the man's mouth with a smile in her eyes, saying nonchalantly, "This pill can help you detoxify your fire poison. Whether you eat or not, it's up to you." Ming Xiu naturally could determine whether there was any problem with this pill or not, so he consumed the pill directly from Lu Mu Yan's hands. Then he shut his eyes and began refining and absorbing the medicinal properties of the spirit cleansing pill. Upon seeing this, Lu Mu Yen walked towards a lava rock nearby and sat down to recover. According to her judgment, it would take approximately 1 day for the man to detoxify himself and finish refining the crystal core. She had to take advantage of this time to refine the marrow cleansing pill. After all, once she returned, she wouldn't be able to encounter a place with such abundant amount of high-quality natural fire anymore. After resting for more than 2 hours, she discovered that her physical strength was practically restored, so she returned beside the magma, took out her cauldron and began to refine the marrow cleansing pill. The marrow cleansing pill was more complex and troublesome than the spirit cleansing pill, particularly when refining the flame fruit, as the refinement and purity of it was very demanding. She threw 1 flame fruit into the cauldron first, then tossed in some charcoal to increase the flames to its most powerful. As she inserted her entire mental energy into the cauldron to wrap around the red fruit, she began to roast it. When the red skin of the flame fruit slowly started to wrinkle and the flesh softened, she immediately removed half the charcoal, having the flames, and roasted it with a small fire. An hour later, the red fruit in the cauldron gradually softened into a pool of purple liquid. She used her mental energy to wrap the liquid into 3 separate portions, increased the fire power and smoked them one by one. Time slipped by bit, and with Lu Muyan's precise fire control, the dark purple liquid changed into a pile of red powder. Lu Muyan sighed in relief. Fortunately, she was very familiar with the refining process of the flame fruit and the required degrees of firepower, otherwise she really wouldn't be able to sustain herself if it took more than one try. She reached out and wiped the sweat on her forehead, then used her mental energy to physically wrap around the red powder to isolate it. Afterwards, she picked up another spiritual herb and tossed it into the cauldron, controlled the flames to grill, roast, and smoke, and stopped only when she finally turned it into a pile of powder. Spiritual herbs were placed into the cauldron one by one, and because of her powerful mental energy, she didn't need to take out the powders from the cauldron like other alchemists. She only required her mental energy to envelope it and isolate it. Chapter 16. A deal. Only after all the spiritual herbs in the cauldron were reduced into piles of different colored powder, did Lu Muyan remove the charcoal in the cauldron and rest it. Being able to persist with this high-intensity refinement of all the spiritual herbs until she finished was the result of her recent consistent training. Otherwise, she would have already passed out. When she remembered that once she refined the marrow-cleansing pill, she'd be able to eradicate her trash constitution, she immediately filled with energy and stood up to purify the ingredients. The purification process was much simpler than the refining process. The powder wrapped in her mental energy was placed above the controlled flames to smoke. The color of the powder gradually darkened, and when there were only around 2/3 of the powder left, it meant the purification process was successful. The next step was to condense the pill, which was the most important part. One couldn't pause or rest during the process. The key to condensing the pill was the duration and degree of heating. It just so happened that she had a wealth of experience in alchemy, so at each stage she controlled the size of the flames perfectly. The dozen or so piles of different colored powder gradually separated, then combined under the control of her mental energy, slowly being grilled. Confidence and determination flashed in her eyes, and she focused on the cauldron. She quickly entered a state of mind where she immersed herself in the refinement. Time passed slowly and the powder in the cauldron condensed into 2 rudimentary form pills. She immediately took out a portion of the charcoal again and used a small fire to smoke it. Not long after, a strong medicinal aroma seeped through the cauldron and spread throughout the cave. Lu Muyan exhaled a stale breath. Her eyes lit up with joy, and with a pat of her hand on the cauldron, 2 smooth, white and lustrous pills landed in her hands. But this wasn't the best place to take the marrow-cleansing pill. She still needed to pair this with a type of medicinal solution she needed to refine to cleanse her marrow. Only then would it have the best results. Therefore, she took out a porcelain bottle she prepared and placed the pill in it. It took half a day for her to refine the marrow-cleansing pill, and after putting away her cauldron and spiritual herbs, she looked up at the devilish man. The flush on his face had faded completely while the golden runes on his forehead flashed exceptionally bright, and the flame unicorn beast's crystal core also turned into a pile of gray dust on the ground. The fluctuations of energy in the man's body were very powerful now, and he rounded the traces of energy together within. What surprised Lu Muyan, however, was that he was actually refining the fire poison in his body. Suddenly, the spiritual force of heaven and earth around them flooded into the cave as if having gone crazy after being summoned by something, and directly formed clusters of spirit clouds. When it found the devilishly handsome man in the cave, they darted towards him and poured into his body. Lu Muyan watched fixatedly as the waves of spiritual energy were being absorbed by the man so easily as if he were a sponge. What a monster! What should she, a person who couldn't even absorb the spiritual force of heaven and earth, be feeling? Time passed bit by bit and the man didn't appear to have any intention of stopping his actions. Lu Muyan stared at him with interest, leaning against a stone pillar. Based on this situation, she could guess that the fire poison in this devilish man's body had already accumulated to a certain degree. So, After taking the spirit cleansing pill, he not only detoxified himself but also withstood the potential bursting of his blood vessels due to the crystal core's powers, and even took advantage of the residual fire poison. He probably refined the fire poison in his body by forcefully converting it into a tonic and reabsorbed it. At the same time, he crazily absorbed the spiritual force and advanced directly to the advanced phase Sword Monarch stage. But he didn't stop there. The spiritual force was still gathering and pouring into his body, and his cultivation base was still climbing. Lu Muyen couldn't help but roll her eyes while she watched this man who absorbed the spiritual force as if his body was like a bottomless pit. Comparing oneself to another could definitely infuriate oneself to death. She, who couldn't even absorb any spiritual force, really wanted to go over and bash that monster up. Did he still want to get along happily? The situation lasted for a day before it stopped, and the man suppressed the elemental energy that was converted from the spiritual force within him, remaining at peak phase Sword Monarch stage. He didn't break through to the next stage immediately. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Seeing the man's decisive choice, Lu Muyen couldn't help but reveal some admiration in her eyes. Not only was this man exceptionally talented, but he also had a very resolute temperament. Forcefully suppressing the breakthrough to the Sword Sovereign stage allowed his foundations to be more stable. But not everyone could have this sort of self-control and a true heart of Tao. The moment Ming Xiu opened his eyes, he met the pair of bright, sprightly eyes like the ocean. He was in a great mood right now. His body had accumulated too much fire poison before, to the point it even affected his temper, making him occasionally very cold and irritable. But after taking the spirit cleansing pill refined by Lu Muyen, he not only rid himself of all the toxins, but it also enabled him to refine the fire poison to advance his strength. It even allowed him to absorb purer energy from the demonic beast crystal core. He smiled bewitchingly. His voice was a little hoarse, sounding unusually sexy. You can refine pills. So what if I can? Lu Muyen raised her eyebrow as she played with a lock of her hair. Let's make a deal. Ming Xiu's lips curled up, his phoenix eyes slightly narrowed. Lu Muyen guessed his plan as soon as he said it, and asked tactfully, You want more spirit cleansing pills? She didn't mind why a man who acted so cold before suddenly changed his attitude so quickly. After all, many experts were temperamental. Ming Xiu chuckled softly, and a soul-stirring smile rose on his handsome face, saying, I like to make deals with intelligent people. What sort of deal? Lu Muyen asked after hesitating. A favor was a favor, and a deal was a deal. She will remember the life-saving grace and repay it in the future. Lu Muyen, you can come up with the terms of this deal. You know who I am? Lu Muyen was slightly surprised. Young Miss Lu is famous throughout the imperial capital. I'm afraid that there are very few people who don't know you. Ming Xiu fixed his clothes, stood up and walked towards Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen rolled her eyes. She definitely was famous, but she was infamous for being trash. Humph, when she returned and took the marrow cleansing pill to get rid of and restore to health this damned terminal meridian's constitution, shall see who still dared to call her small trash. Ming Xiu arrived in front of Lu Muyen and squatted, looking at her eye to eye, saying, I want all the spirit cleansing pills you have on you. You can ask for a price. He was currently cultivating a specific type of cultivation method and must absorb and refine the crystal core of a demonic beast directly, but it also had its disadvantages. Directly refining the crystal core without being buffered by other spiritual herbs meant he would be accumulating toxin in his body from the energy. After the fire poison accumulated to a certain quantity, it would affect his future cultivation. But Lu Muyen's pills, coincidentally, could help him resolve this disadvantage. With the man lowered to her level, staring straight at her, and speaking with a serious expression, it demonstrated that he placed her at an equal footing and didn't underestimate and belittle her. A favorable impression of him rose in her heart. Do you still want the corpse of that Tier 6 demonic beast? Lu Muyen asked the man as she stared at the corpse of the giant red beast not far away. Ming Xiu glanced at the corpse. He already refined the crystal core of the flame unicorn beast. Even though the scaled armor was still somewhat useful to him, But if Lu Mu Yen wanted it, he didn't really mind. Want it? Ming Xiao asked softly beside her ear. Lu Mu Yen felt the man's breath around her ears. His voice was extremely alluring, and an inexplicable sensation rose in her heart, like how one's knees could feel weak. She composed herself and turned her head sideways to look at the man eye to eye, a brilliant, gorgeous smile rising on her face. I want it. Chapter 17. Ming Xiao, hearing the little woman answer refreshingly without acting pretentious, a little more acknowledgement and admiration for her rose in Ming Xiao's heart. A rare arc of delight rose on his lips. Very well. This Highness agrees. Lu Mu Yen looked at the devilish man's unconcerned appearance and sighed inwardly. This was power. What others took as priceless treasure, in the eyes of experts, it meant nothing, just like how she used to be. However, she wasn't a person who liked to reminisce and be stuck in the past. She was even able to be reborn in a foreign world after dying. It didn't matter if she was trash. One day she would stand at the summit of this world and step into the ranks of the peerless experts. You know, you aren't at a disadvantage in this deal. Lu Mu Yen smiled and blinked at the man. I'm the only person who can refine this spirit-cleansing pill. Even though the spiritual herbs used aren't rare, but the formula is one and only. The most important thing is that you'll get twice the result for half the effort if you take my spirit-cleansing pill for your method of cultivation. Not to mention, you won't need to worry about residual poison. Ming Xiao's fingers within his sleeves flinched. This little woman was rather intelligent. Within such a short time, she could actually guess correctly that the reason he absorbed the demonic beast crystal core was due to his cultivation method. What was the effect of the pill you refined last? He felt slightly expectant. Although he was in a state of semi-meditation earlier when refining the crystal core, he was still aware of what occurred outside. For a moment, Lu Mu Yen was stunned, but since she was discovered, there wasn't anything to hide. The pill's called marrow cleansing pill. It can change and improve one's constitution and cleanse the body. Seeing a flicker of astuteness in the man's narrowed phoenix eyes, Lu Mu Yen shrugged and added, but it's useless to a person of the sword monarch stage. Ming Xiao raised an eyebrow. Was this little woman playing with him? Then this highness will wait until you can refine a marrow cleansing pill that's grade 3 and above that could improve the constitution of a sword monarch. She sneered. Do you think that grade 3 pills are like cabbages 1? I'm a trash that can't even use elemental energy. You think it's possible for me to refine it? This highness believes you'll be able to refine it very soon. Ming Xiao always felt that this little woman would give him many surprises. Lu Mu Yan's heart trembled, lowered her head, and chuckled softly, her voice as sweet and serene as a clear spring. After coming to this world, she had always been called trash and was looked down upon. She didn't expect that this stranger she met for the first time would say something like believing in her. But it was also because of his belief that gentle ripples rose in her heart. Since you saved me, if I can refine pills that are grade 3 or above, they'll give you priority in trade. A pure, genuine smile rose on Lu Mu Yan's makeupless, beautiful little face. Seeing the little woman's genuine smile, Ming Xiao's star-like black eyes deepened, and a devilishly charming smile rose on his lips. Promise. Promise. Lu Mu Yen nodded, then took out the porcelain bottle with spirit-cleansing pills from her interspatial ring and handed it to the man. This is the spirit-cleansing pill. There's 4 remaining inside. Ming Xiao took the white porcelain bottle that still had a touch of warmth from the little woman's palm. He held it in his hands and played with it, then motioned with his eyes, "Go and put away the body of the demonic beast then." A delighted smile rose on Lu Mu Yan's lips. 1 bottle of spirit-cleansing herbs in exchange for a Tier 6 demonic beast's body was a bargain. But she also knew that the man had deliberately let her, so she thanked him. Then she walked to the corpse of the flame unicorn beast and used her interspatial ring to collect it. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, luckily she was born into a distinguished clan with a grandfather that was the empire's expert, so the storage space of the interspatial ring he gifted her wasn't that small. It could perfectly fit the body of the demonic beast inside it, otherwise it would have been troublesome. Lu Muyen returned to the man's side after collecting the corpse of the demonic beast, then took off the ice blue bangle and handed it over, smiling and said, "Thank you very much. You can keep it." Ming Xiu didn't reach out to take the bangle. He had an inexplicable desire to leave this token with Lu Muyen, so he did. Lu Muyen's eyes revealed a bit of surprise, but after hesitating, she raised her head with a smile and said, "Then thanks again." She felt that this ice bangle wasn't just an ordinary spirit tool, but since this devilish man didn't want it, she decided to accept it. After she refined the foundation establishing pill in the future, then she'd gift him one for free in return. "Are you leaving now?" Lu Muyen calculated the time. She was already trapped here for almost 3 days. She wondered what Yi Qing Han and the others were doing now. Seeing a thin layer of sweat on Lu Muyen's forehead and nose, Ming Xiu knew that this sort of environment wouldn't be easy for her, a sword master that didn't have any elemental energy to protect her. It was already amazing that she could last until now. It was time for him to return as well, so he said thoughtfully, "I am. Seeing that we're acquaintances now, This Highness will see you off." The exit had long been sealed, so if one didn't have any elemental energy, leaving this dark volcanic cave wasn't easy. He'll be a good person till the end. But he, who didn't have a lot of patience, sure made a lot of exceptions for Lu Muyen. At the drop of his words, Ming Xiu stretched out an arm and held Lu Muyen in his arms. With a push of his feet, they disappeared from this underground cave together. All Lu Muyen saw was darkness before her, but not only after, she stood within a forest in the blazing mountain range. The pressuring and suffocating heat vanished as well. She was out. The faint fragrance of medicinal herbs on Lu Muyen lingered around his nose. His dark eyes deepened even more. After flying for a little more distance with Lu Muyen, Ming Xiu landed within a spacious area within the thin forest. Only then did he release Lu Muyen. We're now in the outer ring of the blazing mountain range. Lu Muyen pursed her dry lips, and with sincerity in her eyes, she smiled softly and said, "Thanks. The favors I owe you will definitely be repaid in the future." "Ming Xiu. This is this Highness' name. Remember it." Ming Xiu leaned his body towards Lu Muyen and whispered in her ear, specifically emphasizing it. Then he stuffed a round object into her hand. With a mature voice that carried a sexy magnetism, he said, "This and the bangle is a set. Put it away safely. Let's meet again." As soon as his voice fell, Lu Muyen could only capture a shadow flash by, and then there was no longer the figure of that red-clothed, devilishly handsome man within this forest. Lu Muyen opened the palm of her hand and discovered that there was a round, transparent, deep blue-colored bead in her hand. Waves of refreshing, icy air instantly spread throughout her body with a comfortable coolness. It completely barricaded her from the heat. With her experience, she could tell that the bead definitely wasn't ordinary. She raised her wrist again, and when she examined it, there was a small, empty slot on her slightly fluorescent, blue bangle. With a thought, she bit her finger and dripped a drop of blood on the blue transparent bead. The blue bead suddenly emitted a soft, white glow that enveloped her. Then the blue bead turned into a stream of light and flew into the bangle on her wrist. The two combined into one, and when she looked again, there was no longer any trace of the dark blue bead while the bangle's color remained an ice blue. Lu Muyen's lips raised in an arc. The ice bangle had recognized her as its owner now, so there was also a sliver of connection between them. Sure enough, the dark blue bead was the key to the ice bracelet. She caressed the bangle on her wrist as she gazed calmly in the direction of the man's disappearance and whispered, "Ming Xiu, cabbages were very common in ancient China and basically the cheapest type of food to buy." After Ming Xiu left, Lu Muyen looked around and spread her mental energy to investigate her surroundings. After confirming that there wasn't any danger, she leapt up onto a tall, thick tree and hid herself entirely amongst the leaves to rest and recover her strength. When the first ray of sunlight scattered on the blazing mountain range early the next morning, Lu Muyen opened her eyes and stretched lazily, her tiny face no longer pale. After taking the spiritual energy replenishing pill, she certainly felt energized, and after a whole night of absorption, she actually felt she stored a trace of spiritual energy. It gave her another layer of guarantee for walking out of the outer ring safely. I wonder what happened to Yi Qinghan. I should go check the agreed location. Lu Mu Yen stood up as she muttered to herself, then leapt off the branch and dashed in the northwest direction using her flash steps. She had an agreement with Yi Qinghan that if they accidentally separated, they would wait for each other at one of their resting areas just outside of the outer ring. If there was no news after 10 days, then they could return to the imperial capital themselves. Until now, including the time she was trapped in the underground cave, it had only 4 days, so she believed that as long as Yi Qinghan wasn't in danger, then he was probably already waiting in that area. After every few sections she traveled, she stopped to check her map. She was glad she bought this map, otherwise she would really be lost. In the afternoon, she approached the agreed place, but she didn't appear immediately. Instead, she slowly crept over with vigilance. When she arrived, she discovered that there was only Yi Jing and no shadow of Yi Qinghan and the others. She sneered, narrowed her eyes, then walked over. Yi Jing was sitting beneath a tree and was very displeased. Because of that trash Lu Mu Yen, who fell into the crevices of the flame unicorn beast's lair, their return to the imperial capital was delayed. Now the young lord was searching for Lu Mu Yen with the others and even told her to stay and wait. She had enough. A ferocity flashed in her eyes. If Lu Mu Yen dared to appear, she would kill her first. Lu Mu Yen. Yi Jing was just thinking about how to kill Lu Mu Yen when she felt a presence walking towards her. When she glanced back, she discovered Lu Mu Yen exiting the forest not far away. It wasn't that Lu Mu Yen didn't see the killing intent in Yi Jing's eyes, but she didn't pay attention to such a small character. She had never provoked this woman, but she discovered that Yi Jing had killing intent towards her early on. She was a person who didn't like to leave roots to grow into future trouble. Since the other person was so vicious, then she wouldn't be merciful either. Where's Yi Qinghan? Lu Mu Yen ignored Yi Jing's ferocious glare as if she wanted to gobble her up, and slowly walked over while asking. Yi Jing sneered, "Isn't it all because of you, trash? Just because you fell into that crack, young lord took the rest to look for you, and completely delayed our return to the imperial capital." Lu Mu Yen chuckled softly, but there wasn't any warmth in her eyes. She folded her arms, raised her eyebrows, and asked, "Then what do you want to do?" "Of course to kill you." Yi Jing didn't conceal it either, then sneered, "You delivered yourself here, trash. You think Hiao can kill me?" Lu Mu Yan's lips overflowed with a devilish smile. "Let's see who dies first." "Humph, you're deliberately pretending to be mysterious." Yi Jing knew that Lu Mu Yen had a very fast type of skill, so before she even finished her words, she drew her sword, channeled her elemental energy into it, raised her hand and slashed. Several sharp sword auras attacked Lu Mu Yen directly. Lu Mu Yen was prepared for this, so she moved to the left nonchalantly, avoiding those sharp sword auras. Her eyes deepened, then she swiftly dodged to avoid each and every single one of the sword auras Yi Jing slashed towards her. Then she took out a dagger and utilized her flash step to the fastest speed she could control, and with a flash she arrived directly behind Yi Jing. Before the latter could even react, she pierced the dagger directly into her heart. Lu Mu Yan's movements were swift, clean, and neat. Only a short amount of time passed since their conversation to the fight, and Yi Jing, a middle-phase great sword master, was instantly killed by her. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Yi Jing widened her eyes and turned her head in disbelief at the indifferent Lu Mu Yen. She never thought that this trash that she thought she could easily kill had such assassination skills. She miscalculated, but she was the one who first wanted to kill, so even if she regretted now it was useless. Her pupils gradually lost focus and regret rose on Yi Jing's face as she slowly slipped to the ground until she took her last breath. Lu Mu Yen took out a handkerchief and wiped the dagger in her hand. This was a middle-quality spirit tool gifted to her by her father. Using it enabled her to easily break Yi Jing's defense. She didn't like to kill, but she wouldn't let go of those that wanted to kill her. just like people similar to Yi Jing. They didn't actually have any deep hatred at all, yet the other party repeatedly violated her baseline. Then how could she be merciful? After the dagger was wiped clean, Lu Muyen put it back in her interspatial ring. Her fingers loosened and the bloodied handkerchief floated onto Yi Jing's corpse. Her eyes were cold as she glanced at the corpse indifferently. You were too careless. Yes, Yi Jing was too careless. She wasn't guarded against her at all. That's why Lu Muyen succeeded so easily. If Yi Jing used all the strength of a middle-phase great swordmaster, then with Lu Muyen's current cultivation base, it would take a lot more effort to kill Yi Jing. Lu Muyen retracted her gaze and went to sit beneath a large tree a little further away, closing her eyes to rest. She didn't deal with Yi Jing's corpse. To her, if she killed a person like her, then she killed them. There wasn't anything to explain to Yi Qing Han. Half a day later, the sound of urgent footsteps came from the forest. Lu Muyen could tell that it was the steps of Yi Qing Han and his subordinates. The moment she opened her eyes, she saw Yi Qing Han standing not far away, looking at her with delight. Qing Han, you guys have come. Lu Muyen said with a smile. Yi Qing Han walked over to her quickly and sighed in relief, saying, That's great, you're fine. I said that Muyen was a lucky person with good fortune, and that she would definitely be fine. Young lord, do you believe it now? Seeing that Lu Muyen was fine, old Lu's hovering heart finally settled back in place. They cared about Lu Muyen's life and death not just because of the treatment, but also because they truly acknowledged Lu Muyen as a person after the time they spent together, so they didn't want anything to happen to her. Lu Muyen's eyes were dyed with a layer of warmth. Yi Qing Han was the first genuine friend she made here, and old Lu wasn't that bad either. She could tell that their care for her wasn't feigned, so she smiled like a flower. I'm fine. How'd Yi Jing die? A young man under Yi Qing Han looked at Yi Jing's body in surprise. Lu Muyen glanced in that direction, lifted her eyes, and said indifferently to Yi Qing Han, I killed her. Yi Qing Han frowned, then looked at Yi Jing in disgust. Even though he hadn't spent a lot of time with Lu Muyen, but he knew the sort of temperament she had. It must have been Yi Jing who offended Lu Muyen first, so she suffered death. She attacked first? Yeah. She wanted to kill me, so I killed her. Lu Muyen shrugged. She was a little touched by Yi Qing Han's trust. She definitely recognized him as a friend now. Yi Qing Han revealed some coldness in his eyes. This Yi Jing sure was bold. Not only did she defy his orders, but she even wanted to kill Lu Muyen. It was unforgivable. Even if Lu Muyen didn't kill her when he returned, he would throw her to the criminal law division and charge her for espionage. Let's rest for the night and return to the imperial capital tomorrow. Yi Qing Han said with weariness as he smiled at Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen also knew that they had spent a lot of energy searching for her, so she nodded with a smile, sure. Chapter 19. Gifting a pill. Early next morning, Lu Muyen left the blazing mountain range with Yi Qing Han and company. Lu Muyen was anxious to go back to improve her constitution, and Yi Qing Han and his group had other things to do, so they were basically traveling the entire way back without much rest. Did you tame that flame unicorn beast? Lu Muyen asked Yi Qing Han as she took a sip of tea at a resting station. Yi Qing Han didn't dislike this rudimentary station and also took a sip of his tea after stroking it with the lid of the cup. He nodded and said, tamed it. Right, Muyen, do you still have that white powder? Can you sell me some? The white powder could render a demonic beast immobile temporarily, which was very beneficial to their distinguished sword cultivator clan that specialized in taming and training demonic beasts. Lu Muyen put down her cup. This tea was too bitter. She still preferred to drink spiritual tea. I don't have any more on me, but if you want it, I can prepare a batch after I return. That's great. With this powder, our clan's low-level disciples could have an extra layer of guarantee when taming spirit pets. Yi Qing Han revealed a bit of joy on his handsome face. Do you want purple gold coins or in exchange with other items? Purple gold coins. Lu Muyen remembered that there would soon be a large-scale auction in the imperial capital, but she couldn't always take money from the general's residence. Yi Qinghan nodded, then asked with a smile, "Price? Whatever. The herbs used to make that powder aren't that expensive." Lu Muyen considered Yi Qinghan as a friend, so she didn't hide anything. "Give your crystal card to me, I'll swipe it to you." Yi Qinghan's dark eyes filled with a smile. On Qihua continent, the imperial capital's bank issued crystal cards which were divided into different levels. There were white crystal cards, black crystal cards, and purple crystal cards which corresponded to gold coins, black gold coins, and purple gold coins. Purple crystal cards could store all three kinds of coins, black crystal cards could store black gold coins and gold coins, while the white crystal cards could only store gold coins. The use of crystal cards was very convenient, as one only needed to use their mental energy, so even ordinary people could control and swipe their cards. In addition, purple crystal cards weren't something that money could buy, and it was also a symbol of status. Lu Muyen was once trash, but she couldn't help but come from a powerful family background, so the crystal card she used was also the purple crystal card. "Here." Lu Muyen shrugged nonchalantly and passed her purple crystal card over. The formula for the powder was very simple, and it didn't use spiritual herbs either, only a few medicinal herbs that were slightly on the expensive side. She didn't care how much Yi Qinghan gave. Yi Qinghan took the card, paused a little, then directly swiped over 1 million black gold coins, then returned the card to Lu Muyen. "I'll swipe over 1 million black gold coins for you. If it's not enough, I'll give you more next time." Lu Muyen blinked. 1 million black gold coins? As expected of the Yi clan's young lord, he sure was rich and generous. The cost of refining her batch of powder was only a little more than 10,000 black gold coins. Then Yi Qinghan took out a wooden box from his interspatial ring and handed it to Lu Muyen. "These are some flame fruit I accidentally found when I was looking for you. You can use it." He guessed that this flame fruit would be useful to Lu Muyen, otherwise she wouldn't risk coming to the blazing mountain range, so he had been deliberately looking for it throughout their journey. Upon seeing any flame fruit, he and old Lu would join hands to slay the high-tier demonic beast and obtain these flame plants. When Lu Muyen took the wooden box and opened it, she discovered that there were 3 crimson spiritual herbs lying within, and each one had a few fresh, bright red fruits hanging from it. Her eyes brightened. With the approximately dozen flame fruits, she could refine a few more marrow-cleansing pills. "I do need these flame fruits, so I won't be polite." Lu Muyen put the wooden box away and felt a little moved. The flame fruit was difficult to find and very valuable, so she didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be this generous. "Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." "Thanks, here, keep this safe." Lu Muyen didn't like to owe favors, so she took out a white porcelain bottle from her interspatial ring and gave it to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan took the porcelain bottle and opened the cap curiously. A faint aromatic pill fragrance immediately filled the air around them, and even old Lu stared hard at the white porcelain bottle. "What's this?" "The pill fragrance indicates it's a grade 2 pill." Shock filled Yi Qinghan and he immediately plugged the bottle to prevent the medicinal properties from weakening. Lu Muyen explained, "This is the marrow-cleansing pill made from the flame fruit. It can improve your constitution, clear your meridians, and after taking it the meridians used to absorb the spiritual force of heaven and earth will almost double in size or even more." "What? It can make the person's meridians nearly double in size and maybe even more?" The shock in Yi Qinghan's eyes grew deeper and he couldn't help but exclaim. Then he asked in disbelief, "This marrow-cleansing pill was refined by you?" Lu Muyen was a sword master who couldn't even absorb spiritual force and convert it into elemental energy, so she couldn't possibly refine any pills. Yet despite being shocked, there was still a voice within him that told him that she could achieve it. "If you think it was, then it was." Lu Muyen rubbed the ice blue bangle on her wrist. If she didn't have her powerful soul energy and mental energy due to her 2 lives, then she wouldn't have been able to refine the marrow-cleansing pill. In this world, only sword masters with extremely powerful mental energy could refine pills and be called alchemists. They were exceptionally rare, and other than mental energy, they also needed talent. It was very difficult to raise a high-level alchemist, so grade 2 pills on the market were exceptionally precious. Pills like the marrow-cleansing pill that could improve one's constitution and widen the meridians had never appeared before either, so it was conceivable how shocked Yi Qinghan and the others were. There was only one grade 2 alchemist in the Yi clan who they basically have enshrined with constant flattery, but even he couldn't refine a pill of such good quality like hers, not to mention its effects. After pondering for a little, Yi Qinghan composed himself, though he was still excited as he asked Lu Muyen, "Muyen, do you still have any more of this marrow-cleansing pill? I've only got 2 in total, and I gifted 1 to you. The other one I'm leaving for myself." Lu Muyen shook her head. She entered a sort of state of mind when refining the marrow-cleansing pill, but even then she was only able to refine 2 high-quality marrow-cleansing pills as she didn't have any spiritual energy, only relying on soul energy and mental energy. Disappointment flashed through Yi Qinghan's eyes, but then he smiled again. It was already a great gain to be able to have 1 pill of such high grade, so he was very grateful for Lu Muyan's generosity. Remembering Lu Muyan's current strength, he reminded her, "Muyan, except for the people you truly trust, don't tell anyone else you have such a pill. You mustn't have no defense against others." If she was targeted by any experts with Lu Muyan's cultivation base, then she would be in extreme danger. Although he knew that Lu Muyen was an extremely intelligent woman, but he still couldn't help but remind her. Lu Muyen smiled as she nodded, saying, "I understand that." Then she added after thinking a little, "If I refine another marrow-cleansing pill, I'll save 1 for your younger sister." She could tell that Yi Qinghan cared a lot about his younger sister. Thinking about it, the girl being poisoned before she was even born, making her unable to leave her house, was somewhat similar to her, a trash born with the terminal meridian's constitution. Since she promised Yi Qinghan to treat his younger sister, and she even received so many flame fruits, then it was nothing to add in another marrow-cleansing pill for free. Then thank you so much, Muyen." Yi Qinghan revealed his excitement in front of Lu Muyen for the first time and promised with gratefulness, "I will remember this favor I owe you." He believed Lu Muyen. This woman gave them too many surprises along the way. He would remember this favor that he owed. Although old Lu's eyes revealed his desire and envy, but he wasn't a greedy person. He was satisfied if Lu Muyen could cure him of his chronic illness, so he wouldn't crave an extraordinary pill like that. After they ate at the resting station, they continued on their journey back, and after 4 days, they returned to the imperial capital. Yi Qinghan had business back in his clan, so he directly returned to the Yi clan after leaving his contact details with Lu Muyen. Lu Muyen, however, didn't return home, but instead went to her courtyard in the Imperial Academy. She planned to absorb and refine the marrow-cleansing pill to unblock her meridians, then return home to surprise her family. Chapter 20. Eradicating the terminal meridian's constitution. As soon as Lu Muyen returned to her small courtyard in the Imperial Academy, she set up an array around the building to prevent being disturbed while absorbing and refining the marrow-cleansing pill. She poured the medicinal solution into a bathtub first, then entered the bath to soak. 2 hours later, she took out a white porcelain bottle and tipped a pill into the palm of her hand. A serene pill fragrance filled the room in an instant and her lips curled up. She placed the pill in her mouth and the moment it entered, it melted. The gentle medicinal effect flowed through her meridians. The terminal meridian's constitution was mainly caused by the block of a person's meridians, so as long as the blockage was dispersed, then it would be able to absorb the spiritual force of heaven and earth and convert it into spiritual energy. When the gentle medicinal effect spread throughout her entire bodice meridians, Lu Muyan's eyes filled with firmness. She gathered the medicinal energy within her body together again, then, starting from her first meridian, she began to push forward. It hurts, it hurts. Every time the force of the medicine advanced a little, Lu Muyen felt that her entire body trembled with pain. Her forehead and nose were covered in sweat and her small face paled. However, she bit her lip to prevent herself from making a sound and continued to use her mental energy to control the medicinal energy to shove against her blocked meridians. After her first meridian was unblocked, Lu Muyan's whole body was wet with sweat, and her face was drained of blood. But she didn't give up nor rest, and continued to push through the second, third. When the last meridian was unblocked, she opened her mouth and gasped heavily for air. After resting a little, she took out the spiritual energy-enhancing pill and swallowed it, then continued to sit cross-legged to refine and absorb the medicinal effects. This time, the result didn't disappoint those who tried one. Not only did she open all her blocked meridians, but she also endured the pain and used her mental energy to guide the medicinal effects to help more than double the width of her meridians. The medicinal effects of the spiritual energy-enhancing pill were also dissolving in her body, and a coolness spread throughout, nourishing the widened meridians. A day later, Lu Muyan opened her eyes that appeared filled with dazzling stars, and a full smile adorned her face. She stood up and washed herself, then ate something simple. It took her an entire 3 days to unblock her meridians. She took a look at the twinkling stars in the night sky, then walked towards the middle of the courtyard and sat cross-legged on a stone platform to absorb the spiritual force of heaven and earth to her heart's content. The next day, only when the first ray of morning glow fell on Lu Muyan, did she open her eyes and stretch lazily, a cheerful smile on her lips. Ever since coming here, she hadn't been able to absorb the spiritual force of heaven and earth, so there wasn't any spiritual energy in her body. It always felt like she was missing something. Now that her meridians were unblocked, not to mention doubled the size, the speed of absorbing the spiritual force was even faster than the average sword masters by almost 2 to 3 times. Only when the traces of the spiritual force soaked into her skin and traveled to the various veins in her body, did she feel a sense of security in her heart. Her body was like a bottomless pit, filling up the spiritual force that she had been lacking for many years overnight. She felt that her whole body was now full of strength, and even if she was still weak, it was a good start. She took a deep breath, then punched a rockery within the courtyard, and it instantly exploded into numerous halves. Only the strength of the 11th layer meditation stage. I need to quickly find the spiritual herbs to refine the foundation establishment pill. Lu Muyan unclenched her hand as she muttered to herself. After tidying up briefly, she left the courtyard and rode the tailwind horse back to the Lu clan in the imperial capital. Right when Lu Muyan disappeared from the entrance of the Imperial Academy, 2 men walked out, their eyes closely following the disappearing figure. Yixian, do you feel that the aura from Lu Muyan has changed? Yun Jin asked Qi Yixian in surprise. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. There was complexity in Qi Yixian's eyes, then he retracted his gaze and said simply, if I didn't see incorrectly, she was already an initial phase Great Sword Master. Initial phase Great Sword Master? Impossible. Yun Jin shook his head incredulously. With her terminal meridian's constitution, she couldn't even absorb the spiritual force of heaven and earth to convert into elemental energy. How could she break through to the cultivation base of Great Sword Master? Did you see incorrectly? No. The aura she exuded was definitely the Great Sword Master. Qi Yixian said decisively. Because the cultivation methods he practiced was special, he could very accurately determine a sword master's cultivation base. Yun Jin stroked his chin and said with amusement, I heard she recently went to the Blazing Mountain Range. She probably had a fortuitous encounter. How did you know? Qi Yixian was recently in closed-door cultivation to prepare for the Academy's annual competition, so he didn't know that Lu Muyan wasn't in the Academy. I'm not very clear on the specifics. I just heard that she accepted a mission from the Mercenary Union to the Blazing Mountain Range, then followed the employer there. Yun Jin shrugged and said, she never had a tailwind horse before. Though I've got to say, Lu Muyan's quite eye-catching now. Qi Yixian frowned slightly, then said, let's go. Lu Muyan rode directly back to the marshal's mansion. The moment she hopped off the tailwind horse, she saw a gray-haired, spirited old man who smiled and opened the door excitedly. Young miss, you're finally back. Grandpa Yi. Lu Muyan shouted with an affectionate smile. This old man was the chief steward of the marshal's mansion and had always taken good care of her. He was also an old associate who fought alongside her grandfather in the past. As he had never married, he now settled in the marshal's mansion for his later years and was an advanced phase great sword master. Young miss, quickly go to the lobby. Marshal, General and the two young masters are all there. Lu Yi looked at Lu Mu Yen affectionately. He always treated Lu Mu Yen as his own granddaughter and exceptionally pampered her. Lu Mu Yen nodded and handed the rein in her hand to Lu Yi. Then I'll bother Grandpa Yi to find a place for my tailwind horse. Although Lu Yi was curious about why Lu Mu Yen had a tailwind horse, but he didn't ask, took the rein and said, just leave it to me. Okay, then Grandpa Yi, I'll head over to the lobby first. Seeing Lu Yi nod, Lu Mu Yen hurried towards the lobby where the people of the marshal's mansion used to discuss formal matters. And right now, several people were sitting in the lobby. Lu Mu Yan's grandfather, Lu Zhantian, her father, Lu Mou, eldest brother, Lu Mu Bai, and her elder twin brother, Lu Mu Ting. Lu Mu Yen also had two uncles, but one was guarding the battlefield in the frontier, while the other left to travel. Grandfather, father, eldest brother, second elder brother. Lu Mu Yen entered the main lobby and addressed each of them with a warm expression. Yenner is back. Lu Mou looked at his daughter affectionately as she entered the door. How did you lose weight? The corner of Lu Mu Yan's mouth twitched. Where did she lose weight? She was just right. Humph, stinky girl, you still know to return? Lu Zhantian snorted, but the smile in his eyes still revealed that he was very happy. Lu Mu Yen immediately stepped forward right beside her grandfather to appease him. Grandpa, didn't I come back to surprise you? Stinky girl, what sort of surprise could you give us? Lu Mu Ting tugged at Lu Mu Yan's arm and the face that looked highly similar to Lu Mu Yan's wore a brilliant smile. Lu Mu Bei's handsome face also revealed a soft smile and looked at Lu Mu Yen with warmth in his eyes. Those who try hard will have the desired result. Chapter 21. Family. Lu Mu Yen felt happy when she saw her family members all adorned a gentle and doting smile. In her previous life, when she was only 3 years old, she was sent to the sect to practice cultivation. When she finally returned, her parents and brothers had long passed away, so she, who had never enjoyed any family affection since she was a child, cherished the Lu family dearly. She spun around in front of them with a bright smile. Did you guys not notice that my cultivation base has advanced? Great sword master. Lu Zhantian gasped in surprise. Before, he only cared about whether his granddaughter had returned from the blazing mountain range safely or not and didn't really pay attention to her cultivation base. Lu Mo's refined, elegant appearance also revealed slight surprise and said, You really are an initial phase great sword master. You were able to refine the marrow cleansing pill? Lu Mu Yen was delighted, then continued to ask, Yenner, you really cured your terminal meridian's constitution? Yep, I refined it. Lu Mu Yen smiled and nodded. I also obtained a few more flame fruits. I'll refine a few more batches of marrow cleansing pills, and you all can take it. The marrow cleansing pill can cleanse the marrow and your body, as well as broaden the meridians. Now the meridians of my whole body were more than doubled in size, so the absorption of the spiritual force was much faster. There's actually such a heaven-defying pill. Then wouldn't it be able to change the combat power of the entire country? Lu Zhantian's eyes burst with a sharp glint. Lu Mu Yen held her forehead, looking at her grandfather speechlessly. Grandpa, the marrow cleansing pill isn't so easy to refine. The flame fruit alone isn't easy to find. And right now I'm the only one in the entire Yanzhou country who's able to refine it. Right now, she didn't have any sense of belonging to Yanzhou country, so naturally she wouldn't bother to unconditionally help them refine the marrow cleansing pill. It was more important to increase the combat power of the Lu clan. True, it's better to take our time making a decision. Lu Zhantian stroked his beard, then looked at Lu Mu Yen and said, Let's keep the fact that you can refine the marrow cleansing pill a secret for now. Once such a pill was known, who knew how much it would shock the superiors of Yanzhou country, not to mention the entire land. Lu Mou also nodded in agreement. Yenner, your current strength is still a little too weak, so it's not recommended to reveal it. Even if others discovered the existence of the marrow cleansing pill, just say it was gifted by an expert. Lu Mu Bai had told them before, so even though they were shocked and excited, they were still able to maintain composure. Excellent. My family's Mu Yen can finally absorb the spiritual force of heaven and earth and cultivate elemental energy. Lu Zhantian was filled with joy. His granddaughter could finally eradicate her terminal meridian's constitution. It was even more exciting than knowing he could double the size of his meridians after taking the marrow cleansing pill. Yen'er is indeed a person of great luck. Lu Mo's eyes showed gratification. The divine seer's divination was indeed correct. His family's Yen'er really did change after experiencing life and death, and there wasn't any need to bear the name of trash in the future. Although Lu Mou was hailed as the god of war in the empire, but he was exceptionally handsome and elegant. His body wasn't as burly as Lu Zhantian, and on the contrary, he usually appeared like a civil official. That's only a matter of course. My family's Yen'er is naturally the best. Lu Zhantian looked full of pride of his granddaughter. Lu Mou smiled. Your mother went to stay at your maternal grandfather's family, so she'd only be back after a few days. If they heard you've cured your terminal meridian's constitution, then they'd be extremely happy as well. They'll have someone send them a message later. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, yes, we need to send a message to our relatives. It's a big deal for our Yen'er to finally be able to cultivate. Lu Zhantian laughed happily and said, well, also pass the news to your younger sister. Yes, father. Lu Mou nodded with a smile. Lu Muting reached out and poked Lu Mu Yen on the cheek and said, little sister, your skin has become fairer and brighter after taking the marrow cleansing pill. Lu Mu Yen slapped the hand of her twin elder brother off of her and rolled her eyes at him, saying, that's only natural. Second elder brother, when did you come back? Lu Mu Yen had a tacit understanding and feeling with her elder twin brother, Lu Muting. Lu Muting's eyes darkened upon mentioning this, and a chill rose on his face. I heard that you were bullied, so I came back from the frontier. The Gu clan's daughter really doesn't want to live anymore. He was different to Lu Mu Bai. He preferred exciting and thrilling battles, so he was thrown to the frontier, where his second uncle was stationed, by their grandfather for training. He hurried back because he heard that his little sister was injured by Gu Yenran and almost died. Who knew that as soon as he returned, he heard that his little sister went to the blazing mountain range. Originally he wanted to take care of Gu Yenran but was stopped by his eldest brother. Since his little sister wanted to take revenge herself, he temporarily extinguished his thoughts of killing Gu Yenran. It's just one Gu Yenran, she's not worthy of second elder brother to personally take action. Ferocity flashed by Lu Mu Yan's eyes, and she raised an eyebrow and said, during the Academy's annual competition, I'll let her taste the evil fruits she sowed. Now that's my little sister. Toleration's not the style of our Lu clan. Remembering how his little sister constantly tolerated Gu Yenran and Zheng Rou because of Qi Yixian, fury rose in Lu Muting's chest. He softened his tone and attempted to persuade Lu Mu Yen, even if Qi Yixian doesn't really like Gu Yenran, but you can't change the fact that the Qi clan wants him to marry that woman as a concubine. I heard that the imperial noble consort and the Gu family were trying to push for her to become the official wife. Regardless of whether it's possible or not, such a man isn't worth entrusting your entire life with. Hearing Lu Muting's words, the others also turned their attention to Lu Mu Yen. Lu Mu Yen was obsessed with Qi Yixian, and even asked her family to open a back door for her to enter the Imperial Academy despite still wearing the title of trash. Due to this, she often had to endure others' ridicule and bullying, which caused a lot of headaches and heartaches for them. Grandpa, father, eldest brother, second elder brother, don't worry. Lu Mu Yan's eyes were full of decisiveness, and she said firmly, after dying this one time, my heart's like dead ashes one. He isn't a good match for me, and all my thoughts and energy are now on cultivation. As if I've got time to chase after him. Hearing Lu Mu Yen say this, they sighed with relief. Lu Muting patted his little sister on the shoulder and said with gratification in his voice, thinking this way is correct. After having strength, who dares to belittle you? Bully you? Humph, there'll be loads for Qi Yixian to regret later. When that time comes, I'll be our yener who doesn't want him and tell him to scram. As expected of second elder brother, you understand me. Even if he changes his heart and comes back to beg me, I'll still tell him to scram. Lu Muyen raised her hand and clenched her fist in the air to express her determination. She could tell from Qi Yixian's attitude that it wasn't that he didn't care about her at all. Combined with her previous memories, they had a good relationship when they were younger, but ever since Gu Yanran appeared, the two slowly walked to this point today. But it was undeniable that Qi Yixian wasn't a qualified candidate as a potential partner. The fact that he was able to indulge Gu Yanran and Zheng Rao's bullying of the original owner of this body was also because he used Lu Muyan's deep love for him. But right now she had no feelings for Qi Yixian, and even if she inherited the feelings of the original owner, she didn't even have a trace of attachment or daydreams left for Qi Yixian. She had no interest in that sort of man, and they were destined to not be fated. Afterwards, Lu Muyen had dinner with her family and chatted, then went to the treasury of the Lu clan where they stored their valuables, found the rest of the spiritual herbs required to refine the marrow cleansing pill, then went to her room to refine pills. Once she had no hope for Qi Yixian anymore. Given up on him entirely. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.